And record.
Okay, 6:01 now. So. The monthly meeting of the Board of San Carlos Estates Water Control District is called to order at 6:01 on November 21st, 2022. Quorum is present. And I'd like to tell you all it's been a long month. Everybody's been busy. If you guys don't mind the seating arrangement tonight, they didn't get it set up for us, so this is how it is. So anyway, roll call, acting chair. Chairman Jim Bradford, Vice Chair Jennifer Finazzo, Supervisor John Salucci. It's been a long day, guys. Secretary Treasurer Chris Lawson, Attorney Richard Pringle, and Engineer Ronald Edenfield. Along with, let's see how many landowners we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 to 11 not landowners. Okay. The meeting agenda has been distributed. Are there any amendments to that? Has everybody looked it over?
Yeah, they
You don't have the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, we need more paper. Where's the papers now?
The agenda's behind.
Peter, you need more paper.
Along with not arranging the room for us, they also changed the lock on the door and took some walk to get in.
Thank you. And then here's the agenda.
Thanks, Karen.
Like them in Camelot. They're on table.
You got a copy of the agenda?
No,
Okay, John still doesn't have a
He had
copy
one
of
in
the
the
agenda.
packet. The front page? The front page is packet.
The one binding.
okay. A little top, right?
You got it? Everybody have an agenda?
Like I said, it's been a long day, everybody. We'll get there.
Okay.
Trust me.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes here. Would it be appropriate to Peter give us a report on what he's been doing all month? Chris?
It's not on the agenda, unless you want to wait till we get to Hurricane Ian.
We can do that. Okay. I was just
Do engineers
giving everybody a
report
minute to
first?
get caught up here. That's all it's.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Richard, you're the chairman.
No. He's the chairman.
I mean, you're
I'm
the
just the lawyer.
lawyer.
I keep that
You can
real
do whatever
clear.
you want, Jim.
There you go. That's the right answer.
So if you want Peter to speak up, go ahead.
Peter, do you feel confident starting?
I would love to.
Then go right ahead, because that'll give us a couple minutes to get settled.
Okay. Hi everyone, Peter DeBaz, I live on Papillon. It's good to see you all. The reason I've been sort of volunteering my time this month is for Hurricane Ian related issues. There's, as obviously there's been a lot of cleanup work in the district, and Ron will talk more about the nuts and bolts of that. But there's an administrative side of that as well, in that a lot of this work that, in fact, all the stuff that we need to do is covered by the FEMA emergency, state of emergency that was issued back to September 23rd, and we're now exactly 60 days from that point. But all the debris removal, plus a lot of stuff that needs to happen to the water system, is something that we should be receiving, if we do our jobs right, a significant amount of money from the federal government for. It kind of gets funneled through the state, but it does come from the feds, and altogether it should be upwards of $500,000, I think, when it's all said and done. So it's a significant amount of money that is going to go not just towards cleanup, but also making our system future-proof, hopefully for the next storm. If it's Ian-sized or hopefully not, but even bigger. So I've been working on coordinating with FEMA plus the state government to make sure that we check all their boxes, because they are the feds and they have a lot of boxes to check. So we do have a FEMA rep who seems to be pretty reasonable. They put them all in Fort Myers and they want to meet us in person. Seems like we have a reasonable person, and the checkbooks are definitely open, but from what they've indicated. So hopefully we see it through and get everything we need. And one big milestone that we did have was today, actually, because it is the 60-day limit from which after which FEMA will no longer reimburse 100% of debris removal. They'll pay 100% other stuff, but not debris removal. So it sounds like we were able to get a lot of guys. There must have been 50 plus guys here working this weekend.
Yeah.
Probably maybe even more than that. And got all the tree branches cut down over the canals. All the remaining debris shipped out, or at least 95 to 99% of it. So that was our first big accomplishment, obviously. And then next will be when we get the money for that. But it sounds like
Well, this morning we did have some of our canals full of people down in the canals, literally throwing stuff out. So that accomplishment was successful, and Peter coordinated a lot of that, and Ron Edenfield also worked on that primarily. And I want to thank both of you for your efforts and your work that you put into it. We also have got meetings set up with FEMA, as I'm correct, for that we will be meeting with them. We have to set them up an office, which will be here at the chamber, and we have to have meetings with them over the next few months. If I'm right, about 6 months. Was that not correct?
I don't know how long it takes.
Well, the phone conversation that we had with them indicated it's going to be some period of time.
Yeah.
So. Okay, anybody have any questions on the board to give to Peter while he's talking?
When is the next meeting?
So we, I think we're going to do it on not this Friday, but the fall Friday after in the AM, and it's a 3 or 4 hour meeting. We'll try to have a preliminary meeting just informally with FEMA, just so that one goes smoothly.
That's December 2nd.
December 2nd, Friday, December 2nd. And the contents of that meeting are basically going line item on all the things that we want to do, which is called your damage assessment or damage inventory. And it's basically a spreadsheet. Every row is something that is a separate project. And depending on the shape, on all the properties of each project, the Fed guy leading it will flag, okay, you need environmental sign off for this, you need this sort of paperwork for this in order to take that project to completion. So but for that, the main thing is that we have our entire list of things on that sheet that we want to do. So we'll have our internal iterations, and we're doing fine on time because we have plenty of time for that.
Okay. Going on to the agenda. Now that the board members have had an opportunity to look it over, are there any questions on the agenda? Scott? Moving on from the agenda, we're going to receive the engineer's report.
Thank you much. Ron Edenfield, for the district. Over the course of since the last meeting, we have taken in additional permits. I'll start with the right-of-way permits first, right-of-way use permits. We received 3 new ones and called under review in various stages. We issued requests for additional information.
Could you speak up just a little bit? We're not using a microphone right now because we weren't set up for it. So people on the other side are having a hard time hearing.
Yeah, I'm
As best I can.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Do I need to start back at the beginning, or just pick up where I left off?
Take off.
All right, my apologies. We have received and are under review with 3 new permits or new applications for driveways and right-of-way occupations. We did approve one to start that's been issued. We have final 1 permit out. We also have 6 lots that we're looking at for compliance-related issues, and that's can vary from just disturbance of the right-of-way and drainage way all the way to culverts without permits. And we did conduct 19 site inspections during the period. A little bit on the more here and now is just this afternoon, did a tour of the work that was done by Thrasher and Gerald's Tree Service. It looks good. It's as we had expected. They've removed the trees that were down. They've removed the debris from the canals. Some of the debris is still on the property, but as we explained to them in their agreements with the district, once the material comes out of the canal, it's the property of the contractor. But they have both expressed to me that they will be removing that material very soon out of the district. It is there, as I said, once they pulled it out of the system or out of the right of way, it became their property, and so they'll be working to get it all sited here in the very near future. To Peter's comment on the today being the 60th day, I'm comfortable with certifying that their work is complete pursuant to our agreements. And as soon as we get invoices, we'll present those to the board to pay them. And that completes the engineer's report for the month.
Thank you, sir.
This is Gerald.
Okay.
Keith should have one extra.
Chair's report. Again, I'll say it's been a long month. We've all had a lot to do in participating with getting all the coordination done. The hurricane has really consumed our lives since it has occurred. We just found out today that apparently, according to the city of Bonita Springs, that the limb pickup and stuff has been extended on for a period of time to the future. We don't know what that date is. I have been told by the state that the pickup ended today, as well as everything else, and the funding ran out. But according to the city of Bonita, we spoke with them earlier today, and apparently other people have, and they've been told that the limb pickup will go on for a while. If not, Tony's got a lot of stuff to pick up. I don't really have anything else, so that takes care of my report. We'll go on with the treasurer's report.
Okay. The bills are being passed out for signature and review. Did you have a question about Morris Depew?
Yeah. Just curious, because I was wondering when the helm was taken over, there's October charges?
Yeah, they're still doing things in transition and have to, most of it's about the permit.
Okay.
Because the permit was extended 1 month because of the hurricane. And so they're still working on finalizing that permit, which was what was agreed to.
Because there's an indicated for annual reporting, when are those transitioning?
That this is for what's due in the current reporting period, and then Edenville will start for the next reporting period.
So is it like a carryover?
Does it carry over?
Is it from carried over?
I think we'll be seeing some going into November a little bit until they finish the report. But that's the work that was done in October.
Okay.
I know it seemed like a lot. I thought,
It seems like a lot.
yeah. So I don't know. I was talking with Mark, and I know he was anxious to get it done. So we may be closer than I think, but I haven't heard that they filed the permit yet. Ron,
Hey, Ron, I'm sorry?
have you talked with Morris Depew to find out whether they filed the permit yet, the annual permit?
I have not spoken with them on that,
Okay.
but I can do that first thing tomorrow.
It was extended, the deadline was extended a month because of the hurricane. And Jennifer was questioning some of their expenses on the bill.
Because you've got $2,800 and 35 cents or $35 of what appears to be, I don't know, it just seems like there's the stuff with you, coordinating with you, and then there's other actions I'm not aware of.
I do know that they have been working on it. I just have spoken with them in the last week or so about it to see if it's going to actually file.
Okay, can we work on getting that settled up and done? Okay.
Okay, so bills are coming down the pike. We have not received any assessment money, tax revenue money for 2022 yet. As everybody knows, the county did not print out the tax bills until November 23rd. They will be going in the mail then. They have extended the 4% discount through the month of December. The bills are available online if you want to go out and pull your bill. But as a result of that, we typically would receive some money in the month of November, and we've received no money in the month of November. We've received the unused revenue for last year, and we've received the interest, but we've not received any tax assessments. So that has caused our balances in our general maintenance account to be at an all-time low of $2,266.58 for the month of November. That's where we are today. And phase one is at $11,360.30. So we do have a plan with the Northern Trust funds, which is partly what we're going to accomplish tonight, as far as assigning if we need funding, because the county switched to a new system last year and they started paying a month in arrears, where they were paying current, and then they started paying a month in arrears. So if we do not receive money by mid-December, we're going to have to pull from the funds that we have assigned out of Northern Trust as our short-term monies to continue on with the ongoing business of the district. We'll have to use some of that money if we do not receive any revenue dollars by 12/15. So we have monies set aside in Northern for that purpose. It will have to be replaced once we start receiving our revenues, but we can continue on and conduct our business as we normally do. So the fact that we're a little bit late in receiving it and low in balances is not going to stop us from conducting our business. The other part of that Northern Trust money is woefully not enough, because Gerald's bill was $45,000 and we only assigned $50,000 for emergency before interim funding, but we still have over $837,000 in our Florida Primes account. So that is unassigned funds that can be used for whatever purpose the district needs. So we could use some of that money to pay for the hurricane damage repairs.
And we do
in the
expect to
future.
get 100% of this back from
Yeah.
FEMA. So it's temporarily funding their amount of money to pay our bills while we wait to receive it back from them.
And I did misspeak. It's not last month it was $837. This month it's $839,596. So we are fairly liquid. We are solid ground in paying our bills.
And we've also got Thrasher's bill been faxed in this evening because it had to be in today.
All right, I haven't seen it yet.
Ron's got it on his desk. I don't think he's actually seen it yet.
What was his bid?
But it had to be completed by today.
Okay, what was his bid?
He had a little bit more invested in that. He had to have some additional crew put on, which got approved by me. So,
The only reason I ask is because one of the questions I have for Richard is we need to go ahead and tonight, part of our business is approve transfer of some funds to pay these bills out of Florida Prime,
sure.
because we don't have enough in the Northern. So that's a decision that we need to decide upon. How much of that money do we want to bring over for the repair payments?
Okay, do you have the copy of his original, Thrasher's original bill?
I do not, but your board member does.
Okay.
If I can borrow that, John?
I mean, we can put, just select a round number,
But I did.
like
I've
200,000.
I've received Thrasher's number for the final bill. I believe there was some discussion and about his original bill was, as Jim has there, what was the number there?
73,000.
73,000.
He's almost 20,000 above it.
And he added extra for the additional police staff to come in to actually
Estimate.
So,
clean up the.
If I may, there's a specific reason for that increase, is that there was ambiguity provided to the district by FEMA as to when the actual deadline was and whether it would be extended. And it looked like it was going to be Tuesday, right? And but then FEMA contacted us the second half of last week and said, oh, by the way, it's Monday, midnight, right? So we immediately went out to the people whose job was to cleaned the Gerald thrasher, and told him his thrasher's like, I'm not sure I can get it done. And it was it was all right. Basically, like, well, if we brought in extra guys, because those guys will be fully funded by FEMA, let's go ahead and get it done 100%. So that's why the bid changed.
If we hadn't got it done, we would have lost 25% in the future, so it needed to be complete. Okay, so,
All right, so you're looking at 71 with the original plus extra plus 45. We've paid out of the general maintenance this month probably. I'm trying to add in my head real quickly. 4, 8, 9, maybe 10. Say 10,000 as a rough number. So 10,000 plus that 70 plus this 45. I think we ought to, at a minimum, get 150,000
I would
moved
say
from Florida Prime at a minimum to cover
What
not
other
only.
forecasted bills are you anticipating besides Thrasher and Gerald Tree Services? Any other bills in the next month that will be related to this rush cleanup?
Yeah, Tony did some work in the course of the roadways, so I think that's about 14,000.
and we got some signs.
Well, I included the signs because we're paying for them,
All right.
unless there's additional signage.
Most of the signs and straightening up of the signs were for FEMA, so that's
It's
not
been
something.
done.
That's not, okay. Just
Okay.
want to make sure where it's being logged in.
Yeah, if you look in your check detail in the packet, third page in, you'll see that I have gone through and I've notated Hurricane Ian because we need to be able to segregate it, and after talking to the auditors, I may create additional subcategories, but for now I'm just including it in the description. So anything that I saw with a bill that had said it was related to Hurricane Ian, I have notated that in the detail. And like for RMEC's bill, 4,355 of it was for the Hurricane Ian. Municipal signs was for Ian. I have Michael Bradford was Ian. So I'm starting to go back and make sure that we identify what was actually as a result of payments for Hurricane Ian, because you'll need that for FEMA, and it'll give us an idea of and available to track. So instead of doing it later, I'm doing it now.
Okay,
So that's where I was getting the 10,000 from.
okay.
So if we have another 10,000 over there, Tony,
About 14.
14?
Yes. Yeah, what 2,000.
And we're about 150, so
20,
164.
130,
Sounds like we need 170, 175 transfer.
maybe
Well,
just to
Because the funds are not coming in for what? At least a month to 6 weeks from the taxes.
that would get us through December,
Yeah, so you need nothing for December.
right?
January, then tax revenue should be coming in.
Okay. So do you all want to make a motion?
Not yet.
Motion's
Not
on
yet?
the floor.
Not yet, not yet,
No?
not yet. No, sir. And when the motion is made, I think we're going to need to separate out the funds for the Ian recovery. And so I think I heard a number of approximately 175,000. For that.
That was to include.
Unless you want to be
general maintenance.
precise. You want to be precise and make it a precise number. You're going to separate it for.
Well, so, and the reason that I say to separate it, when we get to that point on the agenda, it will be under the Hurricane Ian item. Is at that point, what you will end up doing is approving a transfer of funds from your funds balance, from your unassigned funds balance item that is at Florida Prime, into your operating budget to cover the cost of the Ian recovery efforts. And so you can do that for an amount of money. If there is also a need to transfer revenue from the unassigned funds balance into the operating account for just general operating purposes, that needs to be done as a separate, I believe, as a separate action of the board.
Okay.
So do you need additional, that's going to be a question that's going to have to be answered, is does the district need additional funds to be moved from the unassigned funds balance into the operating account for operations through December 31.
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll need an amount for that.
What I calculate here based on these three outstanding bills is 151,565 based on Tony, Thrasher, and Gerald Tree Services.
How much you got, Tucker?
151,565. And that includes the updated Thrasher, right? Just sent to you.
Okay. So we'll make the motion when we talk about, keep that number.
I got it now.
All right. Because I don't have that written down. I need to go back into October. There were some charges that we did pay in October, some bills in October for Hurricane Ian. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but we do need to go back and recapture that.
But you need funding from the other account?
No, I'm just saying, when we go to tell FEMA,
If she's going to begin to keep it separate, then maybe she should get the money out of our Florida Prime account and start covering everything for Ian from that and not be using it from our budget.
let me see what it was last month.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Because I guarantee you FEMA and Tallahassee are going to come in and do an audit. And so if you can show an accounting of where the funds came from or where they went to, that'll help with the reimbursement, I'm sure.
I don't have anything from the engineer for last month for FEMA, but I do have Michael Bradford at $650 last month. So that was the only thing that was attributable.
Okay.
So add $650 to that number.
$650. How about the signs?
The signs are being paid this month.
But weren't they, we had a lot of signs lost and damaged.
We're paying, we've had like the municipal sign, we're paying almost
I
$4,000.
understand that. Shouldn't that be a Hurricane Ian?
Yeah, I have those marked as a Hurricane
Okay,
Ian.
so we add that to the amount.
That's already in,
Florida Prime.
if John included that from this month's bills, then yes.
The only bills I did was Thresher.
Municipal sign.
No, I did not.
We did not do that, so we have to add municipal sign.
All right, wait, then
But
you
that's
have,
not a transfer for the fund. I'm only thinking about future cash flow needs.
okay.
So, but are we
This-
gonna also have billing here from, the engineering firm?
Okay.
They're still gonna need to get paid for specific FEMA activity right now, correct?
Well, that.
An ongoing, yeah.
And the
And the
also.
attorney as well, so it's gonna be more than 151,000 we need from
Right.
for the
right, so-
internal bridge alone, basically.
Okay. So this month, if you only included Thrasher, Gerald,
That's the only bills I see in front of me.
Okay. this month we're paying $9,676.53 out of the general maintenance for hurricane-related expenses. So you want to add that to your figure. And then last month we spent $650 for Hurricane Ian-related expenses. So you want to add that to
What
that
was it,
figure.
9,000 what?
9676.53.
Okay, we're at 161,891. And then Mr. Pringle's probably gonna be a discount, $50 an hour, I'm sure. So.
And you had some things in your
161.
bill that wasn't broken out for
891,
hurricane, but I
891
couldn't figure
so
that out.
far, so we don't have
Okay.
Mr. Pringle to show you.
Can I ask a question? Why is Thrasher being paid so much money? What has he done for that kind of money?
He had the bulk of the canal clearing work to be done. His area, we broke it into an area north of Strike Lane and south of Strike Lane.
Okay,
He's run from the entrance at the railroad tracks,
right,
south, down around to the weir.
right.
Actually, he went a little beyond the weir because it needed it, and then came back up Stillwell, and then the Strike Lane Canal on the south side of Strike Lane, all the way to the interstate.
Okay, so he's cleaned all the outside perimeter.
And
South of Strike Lane, he's cleaned the entire perimeter.
And
That's a lot of money.
that canal system had the bulk of all the hurricane stuff in it. The north side was light compared to the south side.
But that's gonna be reimbursed.
Yeah.
Maybe
But
get
it's gonna
that,
be
and
reimbursed.
you'll have to send John to kind of get that idea across to John.
It was just the curiosity that she wanted.
No, no, I get it. I understand.
He's kind of.
But, you know, my question would be, do we even have a record of when it was last time cleaned? That's just, this is years of accumulation, I think.
Well, not
And
not
a hurricane on top of it.
Not
No.
according to our records have it being cleaned annually, so,
But,
okay, so,
but,
anyway, let's, move on.
Okay,
We
so.
can beat that dead horse to
You want to
death.
talk
For
about
the record, I can
FEMA,
tell you
what we
exactly
talked about
what was
when we
done.
done hurricane, you want to talk about?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so. Does anybody have any questions about the financial condition of the district? No.
Okay.
I'm
Any
done.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, then,
Attorney's report.
attorney's report.
Yes, sir. Based upon everything that I have heard, it sounds like there may also be a need to transfer funds from the fund's balance into the operating account for non-EN related general expenses before the December board meeting. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. If that's the case, Mr. Chairman, then I believe we need to add an item to the agenda. Would be a last item in section number 8 would be funds transfer for operating expenses. And besides that item, all of my other comments relate to agenda items that are already on the agenda, and I'll just save my comments until then. If you could entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add the funds transfer item to
Okay.
item number 8, I would appreciate it.
We put a motion on the floor to amend the agenda to include the transfer of funds for Ian and for the,
The Ian expenses are covered under the Hurricane Ian item that's already on the agenda.
Okay, that's
This one is
just
just for operating.
operational
Yes,
expenses.
operating expenses. That's
Okay.
all.
Have a
Yes.
second for that?
Second the motion.
Fine.
Okay. So we added that to the agenda. I do not have any other comments, Mr. Chairman, for you except for the items that are on your agenda.
Thank you.
And I would like an opportunity to speak when the items come up,
Okay.
please.
Okay, comments from guests and public input. Anybody have anything? Brad?
To start off with, they did a good job cleaning the canal.
Thank you.
But who do we contact if there was some unintentional damage that was done during so, in case it becomes an issue down the road? So I'm talking in particular the water meter, when they cut that tree that was down. I guess part of that tree fell farther into my water meter right there. I'm not trying to look for a reimbursement, but I just want it to be known in case it is an issue later on.
It would become a FEMA expense.
Okay.
So with all due respect to that, then you need to just let us know so we can add it to that expense.
Okay.
So that can get taken care of.
Again,
So-
only if it becomes.
So
an
what,
issue.
was there an expense to that, or did the water company come take care of it?
I haven't done anything with it. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It was.
Well,
It wasn't that way when the tree was still across the road.
Then when you,
Now it is.
when you do, if they don't take care of it, let us know what that is and we'll get it taken care of.
There's no water at the house now?
Jim,
I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Richard has something.
Can I
Yes.
respond? Mr. Gallagher, if you'll just send in anything that you need to send to the district, if you'll send in to the secretary, to Chris, to Ms. Lawson, then that's where all those public records are stored, is with her, and then she'll get it circulated around.
Okay.
That'll be the best thing to do.
Thank you.
But sooner than later, would you not say we need to get that identified if it is a problem or not a problem now? Kind of.
Yes,
I'll-
sir. It's-
I'll
Don't
check
wait
on
6
it.
months.
I'll check on it this week.
Yeah.
See if it's an issue below surface.
yes, sir.
So that,
So just whenever you know.
Okay.
Just anything related to the district needs to funnel through her.
Thank you.
For
And
Green Brook.
the next part would be for Ron and just checking on the status of my mailbox request.
Have not completed the paperwork on that yet. But we will work to get that to you within the next week or so.
Okay. Because that was part of the same gate request that I put in last time. Okay. I also noticed that there was no ROW issues to be discussed on the agenda last month. And in fact, I had an email from Chris on the 12th of October saying that the ROW issues would not be discussed. However, they ended up being discussed, as we all know. Does anybody like to comment on that?
Are you talking about the best uses?
The ROW issues on Mariah? Right-of-way issues
Right, you were on the agenda last month
for a gate request.
for the gate request.
That's correct. And then somehow my right-of-way became part of the agenda as well. So I'm just trying to figure out how that popped up without being an agenda item or being on there.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You may.
Mr. Gallagher, your usage of Mariah Lane is all interconnected. I believe part of the discussion that occurred at last month's meeting as a result of you being on the agenda already resulted in the action that the board took at the last meeting. So it's all interconnected.
Okay. My next question would be, after we left, I was able to listen to the audio meeting minutes. And there was quite a few side discussions that went on about my property. So I would just like the board to be open and honest in front of everybody at this point. And if you have an issue with something that was going on with the property, why would we not want to discuss with the landowner? Because on your own website, okay, it says the purpose of the district is to work with our neighbors. I don't know how you're working with the neighbors if we're not talking to each other about an issue that happens to be on the mind of the board. I fought for you to be on the board. I fought for you to be on the board. I didn't have to fight for you. You were the only one, sorry. But, you know, I can't help fix anything or clear up any clarification if you guys don't come to me. I did every request that you asked. I abided by all the access standard rules. I went by Mr. Pringle's recommendations, okay, to work for the year and a half to get it approved the first time. I did everything that the board has asked. I followed the gate request. I put them in multiple times. I gave Mr. Edenfield additional information. I don't think that someone should be penalized. We're not in communist China. We're not in Russia for just asking a simple question, you know, and that's all I did at this last meeting, okay? I would like this passed over to John and the rest of the board members so you can actually see what frontage I have. There's a big problem with just looking at my property because the property north of me is not mine. It's Cody's and Stevens. Okay, but if
Well, actually, it's not theirs.
well, that's not theirs.
They don't own that second piece of property. They were trying to buy it. They don't own it.
Okay, forgive me, I did not know that. But I'm just trying to say that it's not mine either. So a lot of people look at that property and they think it's mine, and it's not. And you'll actually see that the 25-foot setback gives me no frontage whatsoever on Tapwood. Only on Mariah do I have frontage. And that's the whole reason why we went through this when we did for a year and a half previously to get access down to Mariah, where I had to fight for DEP and EPA and everybody to show that gravel is allowed.
Okay, can we have the full attention of the board here? I mean, this man's speaking. Thank you.
So, I mean, I did everything that the previous board wanted for the year and a half to get it approved. And I've done everything that the board has asked me to do this time. But yet, because I asked a question, I had it removed. I don't understand that. So I just would appreciate some open honesty. If there's an issue, please discuss it so that I can help correct it.
If I may,
I think the attorney wants to handle this.
let me throw something out, just gonna start for a second. Being having come on board rather recently, we didn't look at your application as if it were something that had been going on for 2 years, had no earthly idea. And quite honestly, when you're looking, in my opinion, when you're looking at an application, the history is somewhat irrelevant, but I understand it has a meaning. When we looked at the application, my initial reaction was, you can't jeopardize the access to the right-of-way by allowing gates up all throughout the district. So our recommendation for denial was purely based on preservation of the district's right to use the right-of-way for the purposes that it's there for, and that is to operate and maintain the drainage system. So I just wanted to put that on the table. I don't know if it's been articulated previously in the meeting or not, but that was our purpose behind the denial. So.
Okay. I'd like to pass that over to Ron. That's November 16th, 2021 meeting minutes, where it was discussed about why this particular lot was different than the rest and other right-of-way issues instead. But I want to put this caveat here, okay? The board has absolute right to deny the meetings. I'm not denying that. I have no leg to stand on the fight.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
You're not on the agenda to discuss this evening. You
No.
just brought up a minute ago
It's
about.
new in comments from, yes, correct?
That's correct.
Public comment is allowed in every meeting, correct?
Look, you have a specific area you're going in here, which should have been put on the agenda to discuss that. And so I just want to know how long you want to go on with this.
I would like to discuss the issues that got brought up. So, if you have questions for me, I'm right here in front of you. Please.
I don't have a question for you.
Okay, but you did during the meeting after we left.
What comment might I have made that you're concerned about?
Did you not talk about the business?
About what?
The business?
What business?
My business?
I have no business about your business. I don't care what you do on your property.
You obviously have not listened to your own meeting minutes, have you? Okay? Because you're on tape saying about my business. Okay?
It makes no difference.
And you are caught again.
You're on your private property. We have no jurisdiction, period, whatsoever.
Then why was the board bringing it up? Why did you direct the attorney to send a letter to the city of Bonita about my business on my property?
Did I direct you to send a letter about his business?
To the city of Bonita. Were you directed to send the letter to the city of Bonita by the board?
So here's what happened. There is a use of the Mariah Lane right of way that at the last board meeting changed. The board made a different decision at the last board meeting that changed the use of Mariah Lane. That was the initiative because you had permitting in place to use Mariah Lane as your access point. And with the decision by the board to change that approval, that was the initiative for the letter to the city of Bonita Springs.
And it was cited in that meeting after we left, correct? That there were semis that were parked on the road. And there was traffic that was parked on that road on Mariah, correct?
Somewhere along the way, I heard about impacts upon Mariah Lane. Yes.
Yeah, right, like again, okay? So I have pictures after pictures after pictures of other semis being on the roadway, and it's not a problem. But it's only a problem if Brad Gallagher seems to put
No,
a semi on the road.
it's only a problem if the road doesn't meet the same standards as all the rest of the roads in the subdivision.
Then I formally request that the district pay Mariah as they should have done in the original CIP budget they got approved the bonds for.
No.
In 2003.
Everybody out here got the roads paved as they should have gotten paved.
No.
You knew that when you purchased the property.
No, I didn't know that. You know why, Jim? Because when I went to the website, and you can ask Judy this if you don't believe me, none of the driveway stuff was even posted on the website. So me as a potential buyer, I was ended up buying that property, and I had no way to even see any of these access standards, any of these roadway standards. None of that was available to me.
Before you purchased.
Before I purchased it.
Before you purchased that property.
That's correct.
I actually was gonna purchase that same piece.
I know you
And
said
I went through all the same processes that you went through, and I found out the process, the thing I was gonna have to go through. I wasn't on the board back then. Matter of fact, I hadn't been to a board meeting here in 15 years. But the bottom line is, I was through the same thing, but I found out that that was a road and not a driveway, and therefore, I chose not to take it because I didn't have enough room to put a house, let alone a garage on.
Okay.
With all due respect, I backed out of the deal for that reason, and the contractor down the street bought
Okay. I didn't cause that for you though.
it. No,
Don't
you
take it
didn't.
out on
And
me.
it's got nothing to do with
You
you.
know?
I'm just simply saying that the information was out there, and when there were 7 different agencies
The
involved.
access standard
in that.
handbook was not available.
So
The
Well,
access standard handbook, which goes into effect
I
about
would
unpaved
think their
roadways.
closing agent should have been informing you of that sort
The
of
real
thing.
estate people don't inform a lot of people.
I'm just
And
saying.
if we try
And
to
it's
do it,
not the district's fault, it's the real estate's fault for not telling you that.
Correct.
It's the potential buyer's due diligence.
Well, so how can he have so he can't get to his property?
He can. He
Yeah.
has access, but then he's got to move over onto his land.
He got what?
He's either got
He's
to
asking
bring the
for-
road to the standard, or he's got to enter from there and move over onto his land and go along the side of the current road.
so the water control district wants me to go through a wetland.
No,
That's how we got
we're
to this.
giving you an opportunity to go one way or the other.
But
The
that's-
choice of going through the wetland is yours.
That's why we got into this for a year and a half. I don't understand why we're going backwards.
Because there's a standard that was in place for everybody in the district for the perimeter roads.
Yes,
And they have to all be complied to the same.
okay.
And everybody else out here has complied to that, except we made an exception for you, which I was the promoting person. I've admitted I was wrong on that decision, and I'm recanting it, and the other board members have gone along with it. And you're gonna have to meet the same standard as everybody else has to meet.
Who else on Mariah has paved there to get access to it?
Who has paved it?
Yes.
I can tell you of the few pieces that are paved.
Who has paved their own property on Mariah to get to it?
How about Bonita Bill?
Bonita Bill's Unit 2, it doesn't count. It's not the same. It wasn't taxed the same. You know this. We've been through this. Okay?
So
We've all been through this. It was a year and a half we spent on this. We got past that. Why are we back at this? Just tell me the real reason why you all of a sudden wanted to take it away. Tell me the reason
Because the
why.
road, because
Look
it needs to be paved the same as all the rest of the roads.
Okay, John, take a look here. Okay? This is what Mariah used to look like. Okay? Just dirt, plain old dirt road. Okay? Everybody knows that, right? This is after the board gave me approval, okay, to put the gravel and everything down to have it improved. Where's the damage? Where's the environmental damage? Please show me. I've done everything the board has asked me to do.
Every one of those lots are sold out there now, and everybody's going to do the same thing.
Why would you take mine away that the board had already granted to me?
Because the standard needs to be what was supposed to be there to begin with.
The standard has been wrong in the past, which is how we ended up getting here in the first place.
Our job isn't to protect your rights, it's to protect the environmental rights of the subdivision.
When was the standard issued?
Pardon?
When was the standard issued?
When the roads were paved to begin with.
No. That standard that's on the website, and that's the public. When was that published? Because you can't enforce a rule until it's published, right? When was it published?
That's not correct.
When was it published?
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter. Because let me tell you, here's
No, it doesn't.
Property
So-
Owner Bill of Rights number 7. The right to relief or payment of compensation when a new law, rule, regulation, or ordinance of the state or a political entity, that's you, unfairly affects your property. So it matters when that rule is put into place. And don't deny this. If you're going to deny this, say it out loud. And I want every one of these board members to say whether we have these Bill of Rights in And you can smile and smirk all you want, Mr. Pringle. So I want to know if we have these Bill of Rights or you're denying those Bill of Rights. Are you going to attempt to take them away from the landowners in San Carlos Estates?
Nobody's taken away your Bill of Rights.
This
All you
number
have to do is-
7.
All you
number
have
7.
to do is follow the rules of 298 and the contamination of the surrounding waters. And
Well,
that's
I've
where
been
we
on
control.
this, it's not contaminated, so that's
your
a
thing.
bogus. So you're making that up. You have no evidence, there's no facts, there's no evidence. None.
Why do you think we paved the roads out here to start with? Because we had to pave them for that very same reason.
So my
They paved my road, I had to pay for it.
My
For the
point
same reason.
your
And I have paid the
application-
same for the assessment on my property, Unit 1, as you have for you, but I do not have the same access. Okay? That's the problem. Because the district at the time, and if you follow back to the meeting minutes from November 16th, 2021, you can hear it on the audio where Judy will tell you that the district at that time made the decision to not pave because they were running out of money. They got approved to pave all the roads at the time, and that's how the bond got signed off originally for all the homeowners, not just the people in Mariah, to get taxed, because all of those roads were supposed to get paved. But guess what? The district started running out of money. So the board at that time decided we're not going to pave the property owners on Mariah because nobody lived there. And who was going to contest it when nobody was living there? So the ones that got paved were the ones that were living there. That's why you have some houses on Mariah that were paved and some of them that weren't. Now, is anybody going to deny that? You probably didn't even hear what I just said, but
I heard,
that's the
I
truth.
heard every word you said.
That's the truth, though. It should
I
have
don't
been
know,
paid
I
before.
don't know why they didn't pave them back then.
But Jim, I'm trying to tell you. I'm not blaming you for not knowing. I'm trying to tell you why it happened. Okay? So it's not fair at this point to make me pave a road that should have been paved already, is what I'm trying to get the board to understand.
What I do know is that every road that's been extended, whether it be extended, one of the roads that are dead end roads.
Please don't say Bonita Bill.
Well, I do have to throw it in there, but
It's not this Unit 2.
Rocky Road is a road that they have to, the property owners have to pay that
I know.
way if they want to use their road.
It's Unit 2, man. It's Unit 2. It's not the same. It was never meant to be paid.
So basically,
You should
so
never-
have you paid for that? So you
Yes.
paid for the road already?
Yes, I paid for Unit 1 assessment this entire time that I was a property owner. Anybody else here that's paid for Unit 1 assessment paid into that same road too? That should have been done. It's not just me. You paid it too.
I paid all my bills. What can I tell you?
That's what I'm saying,
I have
you paid it
pavement in
too.
front of my house,
So
and I can't block it off.
back at the very, very, very beginning of the conversation, I made it a point that you were in and paying the unit assessment that you were paying.
I know,
because of
you're
the
gonna say that I had
frontage
it because I'm Papillon.
on- Because of the frontage on the other road.
No. If you look at
So-
what I gave John right there, you'll see that the setback's 25 feet. It doesn't even come close to Papillon.
I'm just, so that is,
That is not a road.
that
That's
is,
the setback.
that is
That's not a
the
road.
road frontage that you have, Mr. Gallagher,
There
on a paved road. That's the reason, just like across the street from you and on the other streets that run north and south, they have an assessment that is based upon the fact that they front on a paved road.
Mr. Pringle, across the street, I agree with you. I agree with you
That's
across
what
the
we
street
went back.
because they are on Papillon.
Yeah.
I am not.
Okay, that is why you have the assessment rate that you have. And for all purposes, your lot is deemed to have paved road frontage because of its frontage on Papillon.
It was supposed to
If
be
it-
paved frontage. You're
If
correct.
if it is not as much paved frontage as other lots, it is still paved frontage. And what I said from the beginning was that's your road frontage, either that or off of the end of Papillon where the T intersection is off of that pavement there, that apron, one of the two. But because you pay the assessment and because you're on the paved road frontage, there is some paved road frontage on your lot that you can get a permit, a driveway permit in that area. And then
Please, Mr.
I
Pringle,
understand.
please look at that.
I understand, but that's where
There's no way I can get a driveway permit anywhere on Papillon because there's a 25-foot setback and that covers all the way onto Mariah. The only place that I can get a driveway permit for is on Mariah. On Mariah, that's it. And it should have been paved originally according to the CIP budget.
from the, and that I don't know.
Please look at this.
But even the Mariah Lane T intersection, at one time I said you could go from there. So to go from pavement is how your lot assessment connects into the program of the district. That's how it
If you
is.
look at the assessment, you're supposed to be assessed based on your benefit, right? So it'd be hard to argue that my 5 feet of frontage is assessed at the same that somebody has 100 feet of frontage on a roadway, correct?
No, sir, I'm not going to agree. And I understand your sentences end oftentimes with the word correct so that you can get me to answer the way that you want. And I'm not smirking when I do it, by the way. But I will tell you, that's not a fair question, and it's not we're not gonna go through that. So let's do this.
I apologize for asking it that way.
Sure. So, but your parcel has paved road frontage. It may not be much paved road frontage, and if it is not usable paved road frontage, then you got to figure out some way to make paved road frontage exist under the district's rules and standards that have been in place for many years and that have been known and generally known and that many people have complied with voluntarily. So that's what you need to figure out.
But Mr. Pringle, you know as well as I do that even in that access handbook, okay, when I first started going to the meetings, there were several things about the driveway permit that were not correct and ended up having to get revised and changed because the permit fees were too high and against state statute. Okay, and I had brought up, and I had seven different fees that were brought up for Cape Coral was $89, Collier was $200, Fort Myers Beach was $145, Henry was $75, and so on and so on. So that brought me to board. And then after that, it was changed.
We didn't change. No.
The access standard handbook is not always stayed the same, so you can't say the standard is a standard if standards are variable.
Let's clarify. If you
That's the canal.
first.
Okay?
That's the asphalt.
The standards were not changed because you alleged that they were illegal or too high. That's not why any standards changed.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, the standards can change, but if the standards change, it has to be because the board determines that it is in the best interest of everyone in total.
And did you
For a
do
change
did
to
you
occur.
do that with the previous board?
So that's point number two. Point number three, if a standard here changed, it was because of changes in the board makeup and in circumstances. And if you recall, a very long time ago, all property owners were able to construct their own driveway connections. They came in and pulled a permit. It was a small dollar amount for the permit to cover the cost of the engineering review. And the property owner incurred all of the cost of constructing the driveway. And if you remember, this is what I remember from the time that I became the board representative, board attorney, is there were about 70-something open permits. 73 is a number that sticks in my mind, and that may not be accurate. but about 70-something permits that were open. People just weren't finishing them. Or if they did finish the work, they did not finish the work up to the district standards. And so, because of that, the board made a decision to change the standards and to say, you're going to have to use a district contractor, district approved contractor. We went through the process of trying to have multiple district contractors. We went through a request for proposals. One responder occurred, and that one responder had a price that they said they were going to require for the construction of a driveway connection. That the board then approved that contractor to perform all of the driveway connections because there was not a consistency or way to make sure that driveways were being constructed properly. If the opportunity was left in the hands of the property owners to construct the driveway improvements themselves. So that old method, there was an opportunity given to the property owners under the old method to do their own driveway construction, and people didn't do it. So the board, in the best interest of the district, decided they had to do something different. They changed the standard at that point and said, everybody's going to have to use the district contractor. Then the standard was further changed when Supervisor Bradford came on the board to say, you know what, how about if we change the rule again? I just got finished changing it, but okay, we'll change it again to say that a property owner can come in, and if they bring their contractor in, and that contractor can meet the requirements of the district for the construction contractor standards, not the construction standards, but the construction contractor standards, then the construction contractor can be approved. And if everybody signs the agreement that I prepared with the district that says we agree, both owner and contractor, that we're going to build the driveway improvements as required by the district, then we will allow the contractor, not the district's contractor, but the district approved contractor to build the driveway improvements. Those are changes that have occurred based upon the best interest of the district as a whole, to maintain the right-of-ways, to maintain the swales, to avoid turbidity, to satisfy permit requirements. Those were all considerations. You were here for many of those meetings.
Yes.
And
Most of them.
Yes, sir. Not all. But that's the reason that we got to the place where, and if you remember, and I expect you can remember, that there were a number of occasions that I said it is imperative to have a standard guideline, a standard rule that applies to everyone, so that we do not have opportunities of anyone being able to argue that we have shown any favoritism, that the district, that the board has shown any favoritism. Everybody needs to play by the same rules. If you don't like the rules, change the rules.
And I also remember that the board and the district at the time said that people had stuff that was in place that wasn't in standard for what they wanted going forward with. So, such as driveway things on pillars and stuff like that. And it was made a decision at the time for the board to just say, we're going to let those go, right?
No.
And not do anything about it. I'm talking about the ones that are pre-existing. I'm talking about the ones that are pre-existing. We're going to let them go. Nobody has to do anything with it. And any new person has to submit a permit for right-of-way use.
Or if they make any changes to those, then they need to come in. But yes, sir, if it predated the initial set of standards being adopted by the board, then yes, sir. But there are very few of those.
So there are variations, is what I'm trying to say.
There were pre-existing conditions, yes, sir. It's like a pre-existing condition with the city of Bonita Springs. Some people refer to it as a grandfathered use or right. And if there is a pre-existing use or a pre-existing structure that met the prior code, then that pre-existing structure that met the prior code can be allowed to continue to exist
And Mr.
Until
Pringle-
some changes need to
Mr.
be
Pringle,
made.
that's my point, okay? Because I had done everything that the board had asked me to do. So I had put the gravel down in accordance with what the board had told me to do, that I had paid the board an engineer approval to do. I did everything to the board, what they told me to do.
Okay, I'd like to say something just for a moment, and this comes back to you. I don't care if everybody in the room wants to record something. I thought there were laws that said they had to announce that they're doing that and videoing, etc. And I don't care if everybody wants to video and pull out their cameras. That's fine with me if they announce that they're going to do that.
My understanding in Florida law, both parties need to consent to recording.
This is a public
Public
meeting,
record.
so I just recorded this last meeting.
The distinction is,
No expectation.
I'm just checking.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. The difference is when it's two individuals, Supervisor Salucci, in a phone call or in a conversation, then yes, sir, there's a requirement that a disclosure be made before a recording occurs. In this particular instance, we are in a public meeting setting now that is already being recorded, and so additional video or audio taping, either one, is acceptable because it is in a
I
public.
just wanted to check and
public
make sure because I didn't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And
Now,
like
when
I
you-
said, everybody's welcome to record if they would like.
But now when you walk out the door, when the meeting is adjourned and you walk out the door, that is not part of the public meeting setting. And then if a taping occurs, notification has to be given.
Okay.
But
Thank
while
you very
until you adjourn,
Sorry I interrupted you.
that's quite all right. That's
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So,
So the last point that I had made
Yes.
was, I had already
Yes.
done what the district had told me to do, okay? And this goes not just for me, but what if somebody in the future, what if one of these gentlemen gets approved by the district to do something, pays the fees and everything, and then now all of a sudden the district can just say after you started halfway and paid these fees that, boom, we're gonna take it away when you've done nothing wrong? There doesn't seem to be any kind of, due process or right course of action or just the common decency to do. I mean, if I had done something, if I had ruined Mariah or, damaged it or something like that, then I could understand the board doing this. But I just am trying to understand why the board is doing this. And if they could please just tell me, maybe we could have a solution to it, is what I'm trying to say. I don't hold anything against any of you. I just want to be.
We
let's just
don't hold
please-
anything against
then
you, Brad.
Please be honest with me about what happened that all of a sudden it's bad for me to have access to Mariah.
It's that every lot out here is selling.
Jim, I know.
And we need to protect
But
the
what's-
canal system,
but what's-
and therefore, we need you to step up and do the same thing as everybody else is implied to do.
How am I hurting the canal system? I mean,
Because the
really.
requirement is that the roads will be paved.
Okay, but I told you, I've gone through DEP, South Florida Water Management District, and everything. I did this the first time. You know this. It's all been approved by everybody to have gravel there. You can't sit there and say that it's for environmental because I have gravel. It's not a valid point. Okay, so if there's some other reason, if you think I'm doing something, please just tell me, and then we can get past it. I'm asking you as a man to man. Please just tell me if there's some reason. Did I run over your dog? Did I flip your wife off? I mean, what happened that caused this? I mean, I used to talk to you fine, and then all of a sudden, this happened because I asked for a gate. I mean, realistically, that's what.
It's got nothing to do with the gate.
Then please tell me that.
Does
Does anybody else in the board, in the audience, know what this is about? Then?
He did give an explanation.
What? What?
You weren't listening?
What's-
He gave you the explanation.
Yeah.
He just
You were
told you
denied
why.
the permit because you were gonna put a gate up to block the right-of-way access.
I understand about the gate.
And in the last meeting, I specifically stated to you what little I understood. It's like, you want a gate on your property, put it on your property, and you go down Mariah right away.
And John,
And go in your property with a gate and
John,
prevent you
you're
from getting your property.
you're 100% right.
Okay.
I agree
So
with that.
20 minutes later, what are we really talking about?
I'm talking about my use of Mariah. I'm not talking about the gate.
He's
This whole
talking-
thing
he's
has
talking
been
We
about-
about
didn't
the gate.
tell you you couldn't use Mariah, we just said, don't put a gate on it.
John,
No.
John, what you might not understand,
You had to bring it up to the standard.
what,
paving.
what you
Bring it
might,
up to the standard, yes.
what he's asking is, he was given a vacation on Mariah, he was given a deed for a vacation of the easement, correct? But,
The public's use of a 15-foot wide strip of Mariah Lane was vacated until such time as the district said, we are going to either use Mariah Lane or want to reinstate the public's use of the right-of-way. That's what was done.
so last month, the board rescinded that.
And it's going
And-
back to the public use.
And Brad is asking why. Right, Brad?
Yes. I understand about the gate, John. 100%.
My
I have no
understanding
leg
that
to
Phil's
stand on.
recommendation is what drove that decision.
Correct.
I think it goes back to preservation of the district's, the necessity of the district having that full right of way to operate and maintain the system. The bits and pieces and chunks of the maintenance right of way start disappearing by either vacation or occupation. That imperils the district's ability to go in and mobilize and make sure that they're able to maintain the system. Talking about maintaining the system may not sound like a really big thing, but effectively everything upstream of that is in peril from that point where you cannot get in and do the maintenance work. That was the position that we took. I mean, there's no need to give away that right of way. It shouldn't be given away. The district should retain its rights over the entire right of way. Additional gates or just additional obstructions. So it just didn't seem to be a necessity there.
I understand about the gate problem. 100%. I understand.
So I think the only thing.
Does the engineering firm have a problem with me driving down there to access my property? With no gate?
I don't think anybody has a problem with you driving. The district, the engineer certainly doesn't have an issue with you using it to access your property. It's just bringing it up to the standard that the district requires, which is paved.
Okay. So the district already agreed to that gravel is okay. So is the engineering firm saying now that gravel is not okay?
I'm saying that the district standard is paved.
I understand that. But the district agreed that gravel was okay. Okay, and then I put gravel down. I paid for it. In my own pocket.
Mr. Gallagher, did Morris Depew approve of a structure of gravel or something that you have there?
Yes.
They did?
Yes.
In writing?
It's all gravel. It's been gravel the entire time.
Yeah.
This whole access standard.
You've got paperwork showing that they authorized that.
It's a gravel. Yes.
I'm asking the question. That's
Yes.
the attorney.
Is that what you're asking me?
Did Morris
paperwork.
Yes.
Did Morris
I have it
Depew-
signed off. Well, it's the only way that I could get the building permit from Benita. I wouldn't have been able to get the building permit from Benita without it. So that's how I was able to get the building permit. Because I had it signed off from the district with the engineer, signed off.
Yeah, Morris Depew doesn't sit on this board.
I understand.
And Morris Depew doesn't have the authority to authorize that.
But it's
I'm just saying, he doesn't have the authority to authorize that. And he never brought it before this board.
Well, this board wasn't in existence. It was the previous board.
I was sitting here. When you got to pay, when you got to put that down, I was sitting on the board because I fought to get you the right to use the Mariah Lane, and you know that. I fought for a year to get you the right to use that.
Right, which is why I'm so perplexed and confused right now. You know? I really am confused about it because at this point,
You did bring up earlier, and you brought it up, so I'm just gonna stand on what you said.
Okay.
You said something about tractor trailers down there and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you're talking about? because I don't know what you're talking about. You said that I said something, and you said it's on tape. I saw a tractor trailer down that road.
Right.
I just was making that comment.
Mhm.
But you alluded to
Yeah.
something, to more than that. And I was
My
wondering what you were saying. 'Cause
My point was, if there was a problem that there was tractor trailer down there, that there's other tractor trailers on Mariah as well. So why is it just me that's a problem for
that
tractor
particular-
trailers?
If
To
that's
be
the
on-
one I think you're talking about, it's sitting on pavement.
Okay.
And there's pavement in front of his house, which again, he was put in there during the road project.
But
It's not about a tractor trailer, it's about the tractor trailer being on a road that wasn't designed for tractor trailers.
okay,
Are
That's-
there tractor trailers going in there?
no, there's not.
You're not
There
using
was
it as-
there was a ramp there that's already been sold.
So
There will never
so
be
you
a-
have a. I don't know what your structure you're building. Did you build a custom home, or are you building a
The
building
barn
for a
home.
business?
The barn-demonium.
It's a what?
Barn-demonium.
Well, what the heck
So what is that?
Barn-demonium is a
It's
single-family
correct fab.
residence that has large garages, basically.
So you're putting in a single family home and then you're putting in a barn?
It's all combined. That's why it's
No,
called a barn-demonium.
that's not how that works.
Oh, it actually is how it works. It's
No,
approved by the city of
no,
Benita
no,
as a
no.
single-family residence, so.
When I built my house, I had to have a separate house and a separate garage.
Okay.
It's the only way you can do it. I tried
It's
to
not
have
the
a
only way you
house.
can do it.
Huh?
It's not the only way you can do it. It's a
Okay.
single-family
This-
residence
Then
approved by the
this is
city of
bullshit.
Benita.
I was on your side,
Sir, I
but
don't.
I'm not anymore.
Okay, but you're arguing with me about what the city of Benita approved.
This is
I'm not,
crazy.
I'm not an engineer. I'm just telling you what the city of Benita approved. It has a single-family residence and it has large bays for a garage.
It is mostly garages.
It's
Am I
mostly
right?
garage is what you're trying to tell me.
2 stories is residential, and then you have bays.
For what type of vehicle?
Any vehicle you want.
So then those vehicles are gonna be going down Mariah on a gravel road.
There's no vehicle that's going to go down that Mariah except for my vehicle. There's no deliveries coming into Mariah. There's no semi. There was a ramp there that's already been sold.
There's no equipment or anything like that gonna be going down there.
I just want to remind everybody on this board, that what he does on his private property
That's
His
is
choice.
not,
Yeah,
is
it's
not
not our business.
this board's opinion.
Right.
It's the city of Bonita Springs, what he does there, and his permitting has to go through them.
Yeah.
We have no jurisdiction on your private property.
But what impacts are right
No,
away, we just.
okay.
Right.
But here's the concern I have is I've been down Benita Bill, and our roofing has been taking equipment in and out of their particular property, and it is clearly pushing because of the size of the vehicles coming in and out, pushing.
Impacting
So
the
if
berm.
the, yes, so if the standard was to be paid, that would be the resolution for that property too.
You're correct.
I can tell you there's only going to be normal vehicles.
But I'm just
going
saying,
down.
as if we're
My
taking
road.
the opinion of having this to be a jurisdiction of what you say to have it as a standard to be paved, then we're going to enforce that for everything else now, or even before then, if that was the standard.
There's no different than my dually going down the road than any other vehicle going down the road. That's going to
No,
be
I'm just
coming down.
saying, but if the standard's to be paved, there's going to be less damage than if there is gravel or rock, because we're already seeing that
We're
pushing.
not talking about,
factor.
But
15,
we're talking,
20,000 down.
Brad, we're talking about you as an owner today. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you may not be the owner, and whatever happens and whatever goes on is not our business, okay? Our business is maintaining the canal system, the roads, and making sure that they meet a standard
Right.
that will be continued on
Right.
for the future of this subdivision.
Well,
Not
Jim,
me.
isn't it correct though
not-
that if this was ever damaged, because I'm the one that put it there, that I'm responsible to
I
make
don't,
sure that it's
I
maintained?
Not up to
I
yourself.
don't know that for sure.
Well, I would assume that it's not the district's responsibility to gravel my driveway.
What I do know is
That's
that
not your
once,
driveway, that's a road.
once,
Right away.
That's a right away,
To
that's not your driveway.
re-gravel Mariah, it's not the district's responsibility, right?
Correct.
but if it's
I agree
paid,
with that.
Okay?
Brad,
But it's not your road.
Okay, I just pay taxes.
It's
on
not,
anything.
yeah, that's right. You paid to have a right of way, and unfortunately it came with a pre-existing road.
Yes, I agree with you, sir. I'm
Okay,
not arguing
but
with
that's
you.
not your road.
Okay, but I'm saying I would pay for the gravel to be maintained.
But you may not be here in 5 years. Vista doesn't know that.
The next person would have to
If
pay
it's a
for it.
paved road, the district becomes responsibility for their roads, and it's their responsibility to fix them and maintain them and take care of them once they're in place. We don't have any.
If the district pays it.
Pardon?
Did you say if the district pays it?
No, I said it's the district's responsibility, once paved roads are in place, to take care of and maintain them after that. It's your responsibility to pave the roads that go by the front of your house. And once it's in, then it becomes the district's responsibility.
So your
No
assessment, is your assessment the same as everyone else, or yours is less?
No, my assessment is unit 1. Same as.
Depends where you're at.
80% of people.
I have the highest assessment on my property, it's unit 3.
People on Strike Lane have unit 3, they have the
That's
highest.
the main road into this.
They need to build
More
unit
cost
2.
to build that road up, more cost to maintain it. I'd like to just make a suggestion here. Brad, this is great, you're bringing up all these issues and everything, but I think somebody needs to speak that's gonna benefit the entire community. I've invited him here tonight for a 5-minute discussion, okay, for helping the whole community out. There's other things in the agenda, okay, this was not on the agenda, so I'd like to see this get wrapped up for now. We wanna bring it up as a point in the agenda later, we can talk about that, but, you know, you've had a monopoly on the floor on the public time frame. I'd like to see some other people speak and not on this issue. That's my suggestion.
Are we done?
I would hope to come to a resolution.
We already did. We voted on it and it was a unanimous vote.
So it's personal.
Pardon?
So it's personal.
How's that personal? Okay, we're moving on. Any other public input?
Yeah, I'll be quick. My name's David Chase. I'm with I-5 Fiber. We're actually a branch of 4 different companies. We're an in-house engineering team, construction company. We do fiber to the home. We're building the entire city of Bonita Springs. I don't know how much you guys really want me to get into it right now, but we do have basically the entire area of homes surrounding Strike Lane on our radar. It's something that we are going to build here in the future. We get a lot of requests back there, especially from the houses that Comcast may not go all the way down the road and they refuse to build out some of the new locations. So what we would want to do is put a plan together to build out to every lot where it has a home or doesn't have a home, to be able to bring fiber to the home to the community. So I just brought a little bit of stuff to drop off. I'm not necessarily going to go through it all and read through, but I figured at least just initially introduce myself and drop some stuff off for you. But we will end up trying to see if we can get approval to use the right-of-way, because our system is 100% underground. We try to stay off poles as much as possible due to things like hurricanes. So during a hurricane, we didn't go down at all because we're 100% underground. But I know a lot of areas have issues, just the way the other systems are built. So we have 100% passive network. We are going to build the entire city of Bonita Springs, and this happens to be a part of it. So that's pretty much all that I have. Unless anybody has any questions, I can just leave some stuff here for you to do some research. And if I need to get it on as an agenda item or make some next steps.
Yeah, personally, I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm sorry you had to wait so long to talk tonight. Sometimes that's the way it is. But I'd like to thank you for coming. I'd like you to leave your information with us. Give us all an opportunity to look it over for the next month. If you'd like to come back next month, get on the agenda to talk to us a little bit more when we've had a time to digest this, we'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll leave some of the stuff here now. I did the really great thing of only bringing one business card for some reason. So, but if you call the number on here and ask for me, you will always get through to us. Whenever you call in, it's a really weird concept. You actually get a human being. We don't have any menus. So, I don't know if I just.
If you want to leave your flyers or anything, we'll let them get passed around. And if that was information you want to pass out, feel free to do
Yeah,
that.
it's. I mean, this just basically has some of our packages on it and what we offer, and the pricing that we offer. All these prices are the actual prices. There's no extra fees on anything. So.
Our concern is the use of the right of ways.
Yeah. That's what it would come down to.
If you have any
But-
questions on the right-of-way permitting, just feel free to give me a call.
You'll
Yeah.
work with the engineering.
Yeah,
firm.
so yeah, it was brought to my attention that it goes through Water District, not necessarily just through Bonita Springs. We just been pushing all of our current permits through.
Here it
them,
goes to
so-
the water district. That's why I want you on the agenda to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure in the future I'll be seeing a lot more of y'all, and hopefully we get something built out here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Was there anything else?
Yes.
Any comment?
Yes. Two things. The first one is the process kind of thing, and the decorum thing. So, we, again, refer to the property owner bill of rights. I'm not going to block this. Number 5 is the right to due process. I find the established systems for these permits to be lacking. And so obviously you compensate that in part by having these board meetings and have Mr. Gallagher and people like him to redress his grievances in front of the board. The reason I started taking video is because none of you were listening. I have video of him speaking to Mr. Pringle, and there were two,
I was
3 side
listening.
conversations. You were not listening.
Yes, I was.
You were listening and having a side conversation.
About a quick
Well, you
question
know,
about
I'd like
him.
to step in because Mr. Gallagher was passing all these papers down here, hand it to him, hand it to him, hand it to him. So you can't rightly get mad at them.
I'm not
because
mad.
he
I
asked
am
for the
asking you.
papers.
I am asking.
Okay.
I was looking at
okay.
the lot.
Time out, guys, time out. You have the floor. Feel free to talk.
Okay. It's a decorum thing and it's a meeting thing. So if you're going to use this setting as part of your due process for these permitting systems, then you need to listen. If
Well-
you're not listening, that cannot be claimed as part of the due
For
process.
clarification, Mr. Gallagher did pass paperwork around. For clarification, I was trying to help John and Jennifer both understand the layout that he gave to them and where Mariah Lane, where the canal system was, where this was. And if you pass something around and they don't understand what it is, there's no sense in passing it
Okay, so
around.
you weren't listening and you were looking
What
at
would you
the
like
paper.
us to do when he
You
passed out
stop-
the information?
You stop it and get clarification from the person who submitted it, Mr. Gallagher. That's the way you run the meeting.
Thank you very much. You're a fucking nut.
So, anyway,
What's wrong with him?
the paperwork was passed around. We were doing our best we could to understand the information that was passed out.
Good, then
So that's
pause the meeting
So that's done.
and then listen. So this is not the way to run a meeting. That's number 1. Number 2 is a separate topic. So the canals were cleaned out, I saw yesterday and today on my property, and the canals on my property. I want to say that they were done very well. The contractor was there the last 2 days, and it was Thrasher, and he did a good job. He was on site working with the contractor, working with the workers and supervising them. And I thought they were more attentive to detail than previous. And by the way, it was done by, I believe, Gerald several months ago, so I was there and I saw it, so it's not been years. But I will remind you that they did use the district's right of way that's on my property as allowed and lawful, right? In addition, they also used my property outside of the district's right of way. And I spoke to Mr. Thrasher and gave him permission to do that. And I don't need any compensation for that. But you're using my property, not in your right of way, to access these things. And you don't need to do that. There are ways to get in from both sides to not to do that. That's fine.
You know, I'm ignorant to some of the stuff that you're bringing up, but I do believe that you use our property every time you drive to your property when you come off of Strike Lane, which doesn't have an access to your property. Your access is coming all the way around and down Tuck. There's no pull off where you pull off all the time, and you pull off on our property.
Where are you talking about?
Talking about what you claim was a driveway today, and you have a fence.
That isn't my property.
You have your property starts where your fence is. You're driving on our property to get to your
Your
gate.
property is. I'm driving on your, so you're claiming, you can't have it both ways. You can't claim it's a
You can't
road
have it both
for
ways
both-
either.
No, I can't. You're going across
When you turn off Strike Lane, whose property are you on?
on my property. My property goes to Strike Lane.
How is that?
How is that?
Right.
The property line.
Why do you have a gate 30 feet up?
Which
I'm
gate
just
you talking
curious.
about?
The one that when you drive off of Strike Lane onto the gravel, which has no turnoff off of Strike Lane, there was never an access put there to come off of Strike Lane at that point. And you know that. You and I both talked about it. There's no pad put there like they did on all the rest of the roads, but they did build a road all the way around and back to your property. And then you have that little section in the middle that's yours, that you blocked the pavement, where the pavement ends, about 30 feet, and then you have another gate. Why didn't you put the gate out to Strike Lane if you can do that?
Well, I can tell you that. You wouldn't want to put a gate right there because if you stop to open your gate, you'd be stopping in the middle of Strike Lane.
Well, that's what you're saying.
The
Common
property
sense.
line's in the middle of the road anyway.
Pardon?
All the property lines in the middle of the road.
We know that.
Yeah, right.
We know that.
I know, I'm just saying, like, you know.
I didn't install any gate. I bought a property with gates, and you had Mr. Pringle send a letter.
No, we didn't have to send it. The previous board did, but nonetheless.
You as the board. Okay, you
What
can't.
was that guy?
So
Daisy
I don't.
Love the Vale,
I'm troubled by the fact that you're disclaiming things that previous boards and previous engineers did. I think that's a little.
No, it's still our board. It's still our
If I continue,
issue.
you're interrupting me. Let me continue. So you're using my property to get onto that pavement on Tuck. You didn't ask permission, which is fine. I gave him permission. I was on site. So I'd appreciate if that you would put in the contracts that they are entering the right of way and that they need to access my property. It would be a nice courtesy. So let me explain to you why I'm doing this. I wouldn't do this except for the letter that you sent that the board had Mr. Pringle sent on August 19th, in that letter to all landowners state that the district's rights of way are superior to all.
Oh, still on.
Again, we're not paying attention, okay? Superior to all the landowners' rights in the right of way. So I feel it is entirely reasonable that the district asked nicely when using land for which they have no rights, which you did the last 2 days and whenever you access that, which you actually don't have to do. Now, I'm not asking for compensation, so I'm being a reasonable person. All I want is 3 things. Form the contract, it's in the contract, if that's the case, then ask me nicely, and then say thank you. That's all I'm asking. You're making crazy demands in your letters, all I'm asking is for us to be nice to each other and be courteous. That's all I'm asking. Is that unreasonable? I'm not denying any access to maintain your canal.
I don't have an answer for you. We paved the road there. It seems to me like it's just like it is going down anywhere else. That paved road is the Water District's road. And you're saying it's not.
And you can use the paved road, but you can't get off the paved road as your right of way does not connect to Strike Lane. It does not. You would have to crawl down the embankment, walk through the water, and then back up to stay in your right of way. So if you hadn't sent that letter, I don't care. But you're asserting all of your rights and more. I'm just telling you that you have to be courteous when you're going on my property for which you don't have any rights. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just one quick comment.
You may, sir.
And a smirk again, Mr. Franco. A little slouch in your smirk is very telling.
There are many things that are telling. I was the one who pointed out to the district that they should not be crossing the area of land that is not a part of their right of way.
So they're not
So
heeding your advice.
prior to me telling them that was when there was the disagreement with the prior landowner. So my question to you is, how many times since you have owned the property, except for the last 2 days, has any representative of the district entered onto your property without your permission? Has that occurred?
Well, the last time Gerald's did a few months ago, I don't have the date in front of me, they spent an hour having lunch on my lawn, which wasn't even close to anybody's right away on my property. And then they proceeded to go through on the top. So that was one. There's other times, I don't have a record of it, but it's a general practice. Nobody ever attempts to avoid doing the trespass that you're describing.
Well, then that is, number one, without my knowledge. Number two, contrary to what I have previously said to the district, is a private property owner's right to that area. So if there is an instance in the future where that occurs, that is in any manner not acceptable to you, if you'll let the district know, then we can address that with the contractors who are coming onto your property, because I have made it clear that the right-of-way coming from the south up Duck Lane is district right-of-way, but there is that little area there at the corner of the canal that is not district right-of-way. If someone is entering onto that property from the district, please let the district know, and we'll correct.
Well, I appreciate that. So your request is to do exactly what I'm doing at this moment.
Well, if you have a problem with something that someone is doing, then let us know. If you are not in agreement, if someone has used your property without your permission or in a way that is not acceptable to you, my point is, please let the district know, and we will let the contractor know they should not do that.
So I don't like conflicts here, so it would be helpful to all parties if the contractors were aware of that. For example, in the contract. So I talked to Mr. Thrasher, and he had no clue as to where these rights of way were. And I'm sure the workers of Gerald's would not have any idea. I didn't ask them, but I'm sure they don't. So you're not doing much to prevent this need. So this isn't going to work if I just have to keep calling you every time you have somebody come onto my property, right?
I'll make a point, because I think we've changed engineers, and I don't know what Morris Depew, who was the overseer of the contract work, I don't know what he said to any of the contractors about that, but we'll make sure that we make it clear, so that as best I can, I'll convey the information to Mr. Edenfield. We'll try to make sure that all the contractors with the district understand.
And any request from me, I will likely grant. I don't have any reason to deny you access onto my property outside of your right of way. I have no interest in doing that.
We'll let them know.
But since we are taking this formally, as of August 19th, let's do this formally.
Sure, absolutely, let's do it.
Then should we go ahead and take down that gate that's on our road at the other end? That's a piece of fence. That's not actually a gate. I mean, it is our road.
That's my property.
And the road is our property, and we won't trespass on your property.
It's already established that gate was grandfathered. We established that.
It's not a gate. It's a fence. It has no hinges. It's got no posts. It's got nothing that keeps it standing there.
There was no.
Not been grandfathered. That was the subject of litigation.
No,
litigation. Yes, the litigation is takes out that grandfathering aspect altogether.
What litigation?
The original litigation with your predecessor. It was all about the entire right of way. She had fencing and the gate and all kinds of improvements inside the district's right of way. So there's a pretty good indication of the lack of any grandfathered or permitted placement of that gate or of any other improvements within the right of way.
So there was, the litigation, from my understanding, is it was an eminent domain to take over the land to connect Tuck to Strike.
No, so there were several elements and counts of that litigation. One of the counts was an eminent domain action.
Okay, so you went to court, and the court did not rule to take down the gate, the south gate.
No.
They did not rule. So isn't that settled then?
No, sir. Not at all.
So I don't know. So if I take that gate, so let's be reasonable here. We can play this legal games, right?
We were being reasonable.
But if I take that gate down in the south end, people will come down and reach the end of Tuck, and they have no access to Strike.
They already have that problem when they get to the gate, they have no place to go.
But
They have to back up onto somebody's private property to turn around. Is that not true?
So
That's true.
but there's more space there to turn
Oh.
around. Then.
But it's
You think there's more space there just because that person has a driveway?
So the gate is there to prevent them from driving.
It's still
all the way
private,
down
it's
Tuck.
private property that they're having to back onto now because of that piece of fence. Just like you have private property rights at the other end of Tuck Lane.
So I did
And
not
you
put
want
that-
us to get permission every time we touch it or get on it, and yet you don't care about your neighbor. That's what you're
Which
saying.
neighbor?
The one that's on the other side of the gate that people have to turn around in their driveway.
So the first time I came to this, on this subject, it was established that there are 3 other properties affected, and I am here, if they told me to take the gate down, that would be a different matter. They asked me to come and say, no, do not take the gate down, because they do not want traffic from Strike to up through Mariah.
We're not really discussing that part. We're
You just
discussing.
brought it up.
Yeah, I did, because you don't want us on your property,
I didn't
and
say
but you
about
don't,
you.
but you don't mind people backing onto theirs.
The people who live on Tuck, the only other address on Tuck, they have asked me to come here.
You have a
and
letter
say-
from, you have a letter from them?
I don't have a letter,
Well,
I
how
have a
do we know?
conversation.
It's actually in the November 16, 2021 meeting minutes. It says Mariah resident comments she would not like to see road traffic on Tuck Drive because there is insufficient space to allow for two-way traffic.
And what does that say about being on people's private property?
I'm
Nothing.
just answering what
Nothing.
you asked for.
It says nothing. That means that they want them to back all the way past Tony's house back to the road.
She said she would not want to see increased traffic on Mariah for the same
Sure she
reason
did.
for raised safety concerns.
Sure she did. Tony can say the same thing. He doesn't say that he doesn't want them to turn around in his yard.
The only thing I know, the neighbor before his gate, Debbie and Tony, they park the pickup truck right before his gate, and that way people can no go through.
I've
there.
seen them do that.
You
I know
see,
that.
And I
I've
can see
seen
that
it.
through my house, and I look at it, but that's what's going on, in that area. So,
I've gone down there. They don't want people turning around in their driveway. They don't want them turning around on their property the same as you don't.
but also the other owners, because I've been there over 20 years, they blocked all that long time ago, and even they was making Gero or anybody who go to the property. I remember now because he's talking that my brain is working, going rewinding. They have to ask permission to the other owner to be able to work in that area. Maybe I don't know if that's what he's doing, but I
Yeah, but-
remember that was 20 years ago.
Tony, that's not what we're referring to. We're referring to the fact that there's a gate sitting, that piece of fence across the Water Management District's property. Mr. Nagy doesn't want to take it down because he doesn't want cars coming all the way down to his gate on his property, like the people have a right to put a gate up on the end of their driveway to block people from turning around there if they would like to do that. They park pickup trucks and other things there that do block. You know that. Okay, so the point just simply being is that where you don't want people to turn around, the other people don't want the same thing.
No, that's not true. I
Well,
am here at the
why would they
request
block
of
it with
the
their
owners we're
driveway?
talking about.
The issue,
All the owners, all the 4 property owners on Tuck and Mariah to Catskill, we all are in agreement that we do not want that that pathway open from Strike to Catskill. We do not. None of us do.
We're not disagreeing with you. You own the property, you have a right to do that.
Right.
But,
Okay,
but
so-
then you take away the same, you're trying to take away the same right of the Water Management District about that piece of fence.
I didn't take away any rights.
Well, you're trying, you're
I'm
saying
asking you-
it's your gate.
I'm asking you to notify me when you need to use my property outside of your right of way. That's it.
And the point being is that if you want us to do that, but yet you blocking off our property.
I'm not blocking
You
off-
are, you have a gate across our road.
So call Mr. Thrasher up and ask if he was blocked to do his work.
That's not the point here.
That is the
Has
point.
nothing
You're-
to do with Mr. Thrasher.
Nobody is denied access. Nobody. Mr. Thrasher opened that fence several times last 2 days. Several times. So what you're saying is untrue.
It is not untrue.
Nobody
And I'm
is
glad you're
denied
recording
access.
this.
Nobody is denied access. Mr. Thrasher opened that gate and his people opened that gate several times in the last.
Everybody who pulls down there in an automobile is blocked because of that gate. Correct?
So
That's why,
So it's a
if
dead
you can
end.
put a gate across
It's
our
a dead
road
end.
there, why can't I put a gate across in front of my house?
It's a dead end.
Dead end at the end of my street too. And man, I don't like how fast the garbage trucks go down and the,
So what do you want me to do?
I'm just asking you what you really want. Because you're saying one thing, but you don't mind blocking somebody else
I'm not
off.
blocking access
You are.
to anybody who has a right to it.
No, you can't even hardly get a bicycle past that thing. I've tried. I've been down there.
You can walk your bicycle around just like most
And I've
of
tried,
the gates.
I've even tried to help you modify it so bicycles could ride straight down that road without having to go around on the dirt.
As are most of the gates around Mariah and Bonitaville. You cannot put bicycle around them. Many of them.
And those are gonna get fixed.
Okay.
The ones that are blocking people will get cut off to a point that people can go down through.
So by the way, so that gate was there before the rule around the fences, the gates on the perimeter road. You did not have that rule in place. You did not have the permit in place when that gate was put up.
You're right, there are no permits for it.
There are no permits for any of the gates
Yes,
in
there
the
are.
community. None of them.
Heather,
What's that?
Yes, there is.
I spent days looking through the Bonita Springs website. There are no approved gates on Mariah or Bonitaville or Top. None.
I say we take them all down.
Yep, I'm with you.
No, there are. I can send you paperwork.
I'm sorry?
I found some paperwork about that.
There are none.
There are.
There
They
are.
permitted.
There are district permits. Don't know about the city of Bonita Springs. Of course, the city of Bonita Springs hasn't been around forever, and there may have been activity that occurred
Before
where the
their
district
existence.
granted permission for gates before the city of Bonita Springs existed. That might be part of the situation, part of the reason that you can't find what you're looking for. But there are instances where the district did grant approval to some people some time ago. I think that's what.
And these are
Ms. Wilson
published
was
and
talking about.
accessible and as conforming with the state law regarding publication of permits.
Absolutely.
Where are they?
Where's the law?
So you
Where's the
don't
law?
have to publish your system.
Where's the law? As far as I know, we are compliant with the law. If you will show me a law that we are not compliant with, then I'll be glad to give instruction to become compliant.
So this Bonita Springs is just doing that to be nice, to put all their permits online?
The city of Bonita Springs can do what the city of Bonita Springs wants to do. Show me the law
Again,
that says that we have
My
to.
advice to you guys is be careful. Your systems are extremely inadequate for what you're trying to do here. Very inadequate. They're not up to any of the state standards for a municipality or for any of these systems you're trying to run. They're just not.
We're not a municipality. We're governed by Section 298 Florida law. Okay. Can we move on, please? I'd like to make a motion to close the public and finish our agenda, please.
Moving on. 2021-2022 budget amendment resolution.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, if I may. The reference is to a resolution, and in speaking with Ms. Lawson, it seems that what she wanted to accomplish was the taking of the end of the fiscal year, September 30, 2022 activity up through that point of fiscal activity, and then amend the budget to reflect what actually happened up through September 30, 2022. And so I prepared a resolution, and Ms. Lawson prepared a summary of the budgeted amount for the fiscal year that began October 1, 2021 and ended September 30, 2022, and then the actual expenditures. So there's that comparison of what was budgeted and what the actual expenditures are. And Ms. Lawson wants to amend the budget to agree with the actual expenditures up through the.
This is showing the variance.
Yes, sir. That's it. And there's a variance line. You see the budgeted line, the actual amount line. And what's really important is that the total income changed. The total expenses also changed. And the fund balance changed as well. So the resolution is simple. It just says that the Board of Supervisors amends the district's budget for the 21-22 fiscal year to adjust the district's revenue and expenditures and fund balance as of September 30, 2022, as described in Exhibit A. And that, Supervisor Salucci, is the exhibit that you have in your hands.
Not quite.
That's the reflection. Well, that's why I have blanks here. And a result, as stated as the budget amendments described in Exhibit A, result in estimated total budgeted district income of blank line dollars, an estimated total budgeted district expenses of blank line dollars, an estimated total budgeted fund balance of blank line dollars as of September 30, 2022. So as soon as Ms. Lawson tells us what those numbers are, then I can complete the resolution. But again, the concept of the resolution is to,
You have to print out that email?
in effect, true up. You sent me two, and I wasn't sure which one, so I'll go on both.
It's the 141.
So the purpose of the budget, of the resolution, is to true up the budget compared to actual income, actual expenditures, and actual fund balance remaining September 30th.
So in your September 30th financial reports, you have what we have is the actual amount that was spent and the actual budget amount. What I had, and I just emailed it to everybody, and I apologize for putting the wrong one when I was in a rush this evening, because we ran out of toner. I had to turn around and come home and reprint everything. What we have here in the budget variance for budget amendment purposes is different than the actual, because this includes accrual amounts, because our budget is audited on an accrual basis. So for the year end, what I attempted to do was take what we actually spent, look forward in October and November for bills that were attributable back to September, add those bills into the budget as though they were spent before the end of the year, and then take those bills that we spent in September out of the expenditures because they were not due until the next fiscal year, October 1. The only item really for that is the insurance. The insurance is due October 1, first quarter, and we pay it in September. So the difference between what is in your financial report that shows that we ended the year at $1,056,565 to the annualized budget variance for budget amendment purposes, we are ending the year at $1,041,263. And if you recall back from our audit, the comment was that we didn't ever make adjustments for the actual expenditures, and we had attempted to do this in September, but we didn't get it done. So we have to look at this and decide, okay, we have to provide commentary as to why we need to change the budget, for example, from CIP other income, which was budgeted at $1,250, to the actual of $9,577, which was a 666% increase. And the reason for that was mostly in part due to the changes of accounting processes that the auditor recommended. When we underestimated, and then we changed our accounting processes. The next one was the payoff receipts. They had budgeted $1,110, and we have $2,100. What is that payoff receipts? I think I got that mixed up. Wait a minute. I think I need to re-look at this. I need to take another look at this because something's not adding up here, because what we have here is payoff for, I'm on the wrong line. Okay, so the other income was, I'm sorry, I was off the line. The first one, I apologize. The first one was bank interest. That was not due to accounting process changes. It was because we got a lot more bank interest than we expected to get. So that increase was $6,134. The next line was the other income, and that was a difference because of the processes that changed from $1,110 to $2,100. The next line item is payoff receipts. We had projected $3,614 for CIP payoff receipts, and we actually got $11,854. So that was because we got more payoff receipts during the year than we had anticipated. The next item is tax revenue, and that was flat. The other was phase 2 other income. We received $349. We didn't expect to receive anything. And the same thing with phase 2 tax revenue. We got $52 and we didn't expect to get anything. The other item was LCEC other income. We had expected to get $2,300. We only received $1,139. So we overestimated that line item. General maintenance tax revenue, we budgeted $471,905. We actually got $496,375, which was $24,470 more than we anticipated. That was a 5% variance. And the auditor probably would not look too much askance at that. But where that partly comes into is, one, we received tax revenues from prior years, not just the tax year of 2021, but we also received some tax revenues for 2019, 18, 17, and so forth.
Were those
People in arrears?
They were delinquent taxes that were paid up.
Mm-hmm.
They were in arrears.
Right.
Okay.
And then there was also an accounting problem or an accounting issue in the original budget. That was an error that was on the budget, and that also accounted for part of that.
Okay.
Other income. This was a big one. We had $20,000 on the budget, which was just for the the Brooks. That was just for the Brooks contribution for the canals cleanup, and that changed to $38,823, which was $18,823 more than what we had originally budgeted. That $18,823 is as a result of accounting process changes. We used to do the remotes as an offset against gate expenses, and the auditor said we could not do that anymore. So we had to throw that into other income. We also received some insurance claim proceeds that had to be reflected as other income, as opposed to offsetting those expenses that they were paid from. Mm-hmm. So that's why that explains what that differential. And then the use and connection permit, we estimated $18,750, but we only received $15,900. So it was just a simple overestimation of what we thought we might get. And that was a 15% variance. Then when we go down and look at our expenses, the administration was budgeted at $55,000. The actual amount was $55,675. Which is 1%, and I don't think the auditor's going to say much about that. The auditor, we budgeted $12,000. His contract came in at $13,000, so that was an under budget item of $1,000. The bank fees was budgeted at $5,100. That changed to $3,452. Part of that is when you look at what we actually get, that's always a month behind in our accounting because we don't get our bank statements till the following month. And so we don't know what our bank fees are going to be. The other reason for that change is because in looking at the account analysis statements last year, I made some changes with the Bank of America for services that we were paying for that we weren't using, so that saved some money. But then they ended up doubling their fees, so it didn't save as much as I hoped. Lee County Phase 1 collection discount is right on line. The principal pay down was right on line. Phase 2 is 0. Drainage. We estimated $110,000 for drainage. We only spent $98,358. So we over budgeted what we thought we would spend. That was an $11,000 variance. There's really no reason to explain that one because I don't know why.
Wouldn't
The
make
prior
a difference
year.
in paying the sweeper man and not paying the sweeper man?
That could be $9,000 of it. Engineer is budgeted at $80,000. We spent $82,119. That was a 3% variance. The gate, we budgeted $4,000. We only spent $1,692. Again, part of that is accounting changes because we would have put the cost of the gate remotes into the gate category, and that changed to administration now because of the way we're handling the income. General maintenance, Lee County Tax Collector Commission discount. Because, again, remember I said we had a little bit of an accounting snafu up here. That affected that column there. We actually spent $21,672. So that was $7,272 more than was anticipated. The insurance was $11,389. We actually spent $15,181, which is $3,792 difference. We actually spent that, but if you look, and here I am looking at the wrong sheet. On the one that says the budget amendment variance, I took that $3,000 off of what I spent so that we ended up only different of $684.
Do we know why there's over 35% increase in insurance?
There wasn't. Again, I'm going.
Just an accounting.
Yeah. We estimated $11,389. We actually spent $12,073 when I take that extra quarter out of the accrual number from what we paid. I pushed it to this year.
Understood.
Legal, we budgeted $40,000. We actually spent $29,296. But when I go to the accrual aspect of it, that jumps up to $36,953 because we paid Mr. Pringle his September bills after the end of the year. So I pushed those figures backwards. So we were actually shy $3,000 for the year, under budget. Miscellaneous is $10,998. We spent $15,987. Again, that's mostly due to the accounting changes of the processes for the cost of the gate remotes and other things that we paid. The roads were budgeted at $6,000. We paid $16,883. That's $10,883 more than we anticipated. Most of that was for the guardrail repair from the insurance claim, if you recall. That was, and swale mowing was right on. So those are the explanations.
Thank you.
And so I will get that written drafted down, right? In comments? You want me to do an explanation in comments?
You, for purposes of the resolution, I don't believe you need to.
Okay.
And again, the concept of the resolution is you adopted the budget before the fiscal year began, before October 1, 2021. You operated and functioned throughout the budget year through September 30, 2022. Ms. Lawson took then the snapshot of September 30, 2022, made the adjustments to the budget to make the real expenditures and the budget line up, and then said, okay, in addition to that, we have efforts of the district that occurred before September 30, 2022 that we're going to pay for after September 30, 2022. So we ought to capture those in
We
that
just
budget.
need to make an amendment to make everything match.
Everything, yes, sir. So what's going to happen is we got fussed at for not doing budget amendments in years past by the new auditor.
Okay.
The old auditor didn't care, but the new auditor does.
So let's just
So
make the
this is an
amendment.
effort to address that for the new auditor. You're going to have at least one more budget amendment that's going to relate back when the auditor completes the audit and tells you the actual cash carry forward numbers. There's going to be one more budget, at least one more budget amendment that will occur that will apply, look backward. That's all. Here's the resolution. There are 3 blanks, and it says the budget amendments described in Exhibit A result in estimated total budgeted district income of, there's a blank line, an estimated total budgeted district expenses of, and there's a blank line, an estimated total budgeted fund balance, which is the difference between those two that you get to keep and carry forward to the next year, of, that's like your reserves, of blank line dollars. If Ms. Lawson can tell me what goes in those 3 blanks, you can pass the resolution and we can move on.
Thank you.
That's one. Please, sir. It's late. So do you have numbers for
the
those?
fund balance ending is $1,041,263.
$1,041,263.
So
That's the fund balance. Then what is the revenue?
is that going to be?
Yes, ma'am. Those numbers.
Every taxing agency goes through the same thing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. That's correct.
They have
So it's gonna be
at the
this
end of
plus
the year,
this?
there's unknowns.
It's going to be, that's your income.
This is my expenses.
Those are your expenses, and
That's my ending number.
and that's your fund balance. Yes. Okay. So the total revenue is being amended to be $1,193,933. Correct. And the district expenses were amended to become $1,108,688. And again, your fund balance is $1,041,263. Part of that you talked about earlier this evening about pulling some of that money out of Florida Prime to use it. We'll do that. We'll deal with that in a minute. Okay. So there's a resolution before the board to do this budget amendment, to amend the budget for fiscal year 2021/2022. We've described it. We've talked about the amendment. We've talked about the particulars. Mr. Chairman, if you want to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution. Do we have a number for this resolution? We'll put,
8.
I don't know what your system is.
Trying to think what the last one was.
Okay, we'll fill
7
that
or
out.
8.
So this is the resolution to amend the budget. The resolution title reads, "A resolution of the Board of Supervisors of the San Carlos Estates Water Control District, Lee County, Florida, to amend the budget for fiscal year 2021/2022, to rescind all resolutions in conflict, to provide for severability, to provide for scrivener's errors, to provide for liberal construction, to provide for an effective date."
There's an amendment on the floor to approve the budget resolution.
The budget amendment, yes, sir.
John?
I make a motion to adopt the amended.
The resolution.
Agree, aye.
All approved.
Okay. So it passes unanimously. All right.
So now will that change our beginning budget number? Do we don't need to, because we started this year's budget with at a certain number.
That's cash carry forward from the 2020/2021 year. So no, ma'am, we don't need to do that. We're good. All right. Mr. Chairman, that's all on that item.
Okay, now we have a motion to approve the prime account change.
That's coming, not yet.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And we'll move on.
Yeah, it's 08. There's the resolutions we have.
Okay. So this is 09.
08.
This is 08. Resolution number 2022-08.
2022-08.
Okay. Good. And Mr. Chairman, if you can sign this resolution before you get away.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
I'll print a new thing that they'll attach to it.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, the next resolution is a resolution dealing with the funds assignment resolution.
The funds for what?
The funds assignment resolution.
Okay.
You just heard me use several times here. You just heard me use several times the phrase fund balance. Fund balance is just a fancy word of saying your savings. So you have income for the year that's comprised of several different categories. One of those is cash carry forward that we don't know the final number until the audit is completed, and then we know that. So you have income, you have expenses, and then you have the balance, the fund balance, because you operate as a government agency. You have to satisfy some requirements of the law, and one of those is the Government Accounting Standards Board's GASB. You may have heard of that reference before.
I have.
Has a set of standards that the auditors use in auditing your books annually. So this last year, the new auditor, remember I told you this was going to happen.
Tustin?
Yes, sir. When you get a new auditor, they
Yeah,
oftentimes have some changes that they want to incorporate. One of the changes that they made reference to was they asked us to create a fund balance policy. It's real simple. And we're going to do it. I would ask you to consider adopting the fund balance policy by a resolution. And the resolution is simple. Section 3 of the resolution says the Board of Supervisors hereby adopts the San Carlos Estates Water Control District Fund Balance Policy attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A, as the fund balance policy of the district, in part to satisfy the Governmental Accounting Standards Board issued statement number 54, GASB number 54. That's the resolution. There's some other mumbo jumbo. It's all legal stuff. Don't worry about that. But the policy says that you have, and this is right out of GASB number 54, says that the district is going to have 5 categories of fund balance. Remember, these are the savings dollars after your operating account. All right, so there are 5 categories of fund balance. One category is defined as non-spendable. One category is defined as restricted. One category is defined as committed. One category is defined as assigned. And one category of fund balance is defined as unassigned. The unassigned category is the most liberal with regard to it's just not limited. It's not restricted as to what you can do with it. I defined in this policy each one of those 5 categories of fund balance. The non-spendable fund balance represents the parts of the district's fund balance that is generally not in a spendable form, such as prepaid items or items that are legally or contractually required to be maintained intact. It includes items that are not expected to be converted into cash, such as prepaid items or deferred expenditures or outstanding encumbrances. Category number 2, restricted fund balance, consists of amounts that can be spent only on specific purposes required by the law or required by external parties such as creditors, grantors, contributors, or other governments. An example is the district's impact fee funds. That would fall under that second category of restricted fund balance. Third category is committed fund balance. It can only be used for specific purposes pursuant to authorization of the District Board of Supervisors in the form of a resolution. So if you want to use committed fund balance in the future, you would need a resolution to do that. The amount of committed fund balance for a specific purpose cannot be used for any other purpose unless the District Board of Supervisors removes or changes the specified use or amount by a resolution. Committed fund balance should include contractual obligations of the district to the extent that existing district resources have been specifically committed for use in satisfying those contractual obligations. Some of the contracts that you have in place where you know a certain not to exceed number might be an example. Assigned fund balance is the fourth category. The assigned fund balance of the district consists of amounts that are subject to an assigned purpose that represents an intended use of the assigned fund balance by the District Board of Supervisors. Formal action of the District Board of Supervisors in the form of a resolution is not required to impose, remove, or modify an amount that is in the assigned fund balance category. Then the last category is unassigned fund balance. This is where everybody likes to park money because it has the least amount of restrictions. And I would suggest to you that you park money here because of that reason. It's the easiest to move around if you need it. This money that we're moving tonight, later on, would most likely have been in this unassigned fund balance category if we had had this policy in place. All right, the unassigned fund balance of the district represents the residual classification of the district's fund balance. The district's unassigned fund balance represents fund balance that has not been placed into any of the preceding categories of fund balance. So you might have, you might say, and many places do, they say that they're going to have 120 days of all out operating expenses in an unassigned fund balance category, so that if a storm comes along, you know that you've got 120 days of all out expenses sitting there to draw from. Another category might be, Ms. Lawson mentioned to you that because of changes that have occurred in the property appraisers and in the tax collector's office, rather, with regard to collection of assessment revenue, you're going to be a month behind. Mm-hmm. So you could have an unassigned fund balance category of expenses for the time period between October 1st, when you begin your new fiscal year, and January 1st, when you start receiving your new assessment revenue. So you might do that. Many districts do that as well. We'll work on those categories for you and try to get some of those in place. That's not tonight. Tonight, the purpose of the adoption of this resolution is to set into place these 5 categories, 5 types of fund balance, as I've described.
Set up the infrastructure, but don't actually populate it.
Bingo. Nicely said.
The auditors wanted us to populate it.
We'll do that, but not tonight. Not tonight. The resolution is before you, Mr. Chairman. If the board wants to consider adopting the resolution, this is resolution number 2022-09.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2022-09 for the GASB 54 categories of fund transfer balance or fund balance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
So the record will reflect there was a motion, a second, and a vote called, and it was a unanimous vote of approval.
Okay, the next one, Hurricane Ian damage issues, resolution, repairs, payments for repairs. I think we pretty much discussed that.
Yes, sir.
At this point in time. So let's go ahead beyond that.
Well,
Wait,
nope. Stop.
Nope.
Nope.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so one of the things that I mentioned earlier was that in listening to Peter, I believe was the gentleman's name, there was a description, and then Supervisor Salucci did some math, and I thought I heard that the cost, the unanticipated, and you don't have it budgeted as an expense necessarily, cost of cleanup from Hurricane Ian is approximately $175,000. That needs to be, in essence, moved from your fund balance account that's held at Florida Prime into your operating account that is held at where? Truist?
Bank of America.
At Bank of America. So, Mr. Chairman, if all of that information that I just described is correct and accurate, then you need to entertain a motion to move $175,000 from fund balance. Some people refer to that as reserves, but from your fund balance account at Florida Prime into your operating account.
Before we make a motion, I want to clarify that number. 161,891 and 53 cents is known invoices that are presented on work that's completed or just about completed. Is there any other work that's got to be done that's FEMA related in the next 4 weeks or so before we start getting tax revenue in? Do we have any other cash flow issues in the operating account that might be impacted in the month of December before we start seeing revenue in January?
That's attributable to Hurricane Ian.
Right, exactly.
We'll probably have engineering costs
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yes, sir.
and maybe
Yes, sir, you
attorney
will.
costs.
The answer is yes, sir. You will.
So is 175 enough?
Is there 160?
That's my question.
We can always put it back. It's just covering the cost. So, John, you think we should put 200 in there?
I'm trying to get an estimate right now. What do you think, engineering wise?
He's not done.
I know, but
He's got more meetings.
But he's got some numbers already. He's done.
2 meetings in, and as we all know, two points don't make a trend, kind of make a line. But looking back at the first month pre-Ian, the second month post-Ian, I think there's something like $4,500 or something that was
$43.55. $43.55.
Okay, $43.55.
That was on the
directly related to Ian work, contractors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're getting into the negotiations with FEMA. I think our second meeting is going to be about a 4 or 5 hour meeting, so you may want to stick another 4 or 5 on for that.
So he's 10, and how much are you?
Probably. That's
195, so Jim's probably like 200. Okay. I think in the interest of not being stuck in a cash flow problem.
Yes, sir.
In December,
Thank you.
I recommend 200,000.
Okay. We put a motion on the floor.
Yes, sir.
And that's for Hurricane Ian related
Yes.
expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Only, yes.
Yes.
Directly.
And just as I think I've heard mentioned earlier this evening that the time frame for getting reimbursement from FEMA, I wouldn't expect any money from FEMA for 6 months to a year, maybe more. Okay. Just wanted to clarify, because it seemed someone had an impression it would be a few months. And
I agree with you on that. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to move the amount of $200,000 from Florida Prime account into our operating account. Motion's on the floor.
Well, I put the motion up for 200,000. What's the second?
I'll second it.
Aye. Motion carried. Unanimous.
Now can we do what that Jim brought back, added to the board? The funds transferred for general maintenance expenses for the month of December?
I'm not quite finished with Hurricane
Okay.
Ian. I apologize. I thought we were going to do that one at the end
Okay.
but it can be wherever the chairman says. The one other comment that I ran out the door to catch Peter as he was leaving. The one other to discuss the one other comment that I had or question that I had for him related to the Hurricane Ian item. There's been discussion about the policies and procedures. They are on the agenda later. There was a draft that was circulated, and in particular, I was concerned because of FEMA about the part of the policies and procedures related to procurements, and I asked Peter specifically if that needs to be adopted tonight, or if we can get further input from FEMA to make sure we've got all of our T's crossed and I's dotted, and then adopt that in December. He said we could do that in December, and he would ask and suggest that we wait until December so that he can gather some more information to put it all together. So I wanted to let you know that point is directly related to the Hurricane Ian resolution and repairs. And that's it.
Okay.
So now I'm finished, Mr. Chairman, with Hurricane.
No, you're just getting started. Ian's done. 8991 Strike Lane. Motion to.
I have not had any conversation or contact by the property owner's attorney related to 8991 Strike Lane. I would ask you to continue that item for a month.
Continue it to next month. Manager selection. We've made no headway on that as of yet, so we're working on some.
I'd like to intervene.
Oh, go right ahead.
So, John, thank you for sending this over. I used your format because you went through and did the manager, superintendent, and plan and operations. So I kind of piggybacked off of it because it was very thorough and complete. And then I added in for the secretary treasurer plan of operations. So I put in duties and responsibilities. There's one little section I'm missing. I don't know why it didn't transfer. Then what I did is took what I anticipated in highlight of what would be kind of what Chris and I discussed of being kind of a crossover. Like, it's not clear defined that I'm secretary, I'm treasurer, I'm manager. So I made 3 copies.
So hybrid duties.
Pardon?
Like hybrid duties.
Yeah.
Crossover.
And I'll update and actually email it, but I brought it. So, no, I made 3 copies.
You made 3 copies.
Right. So basically the duties and responsibilities, but like I said, I'll re-email because I had a section that did not come through. And then what I highlighted as a PDF. Or as to what would be like a, I don't know if you want to take a look at it.
Absolutely.
But it's to be like what duties would maybe overlap. What I'd like to do is once we could kind of firm that up, or, you know, what you did with the managerial part, my part with the secretary treasurer, is then have Chris kind of review it and then put her input as to more detail as to where she sees the definition of duties or responsibilities. And I feel like we're about 80% there for putting out that bid for that position, whether it be, you know, the homeowner, a professional, or somebody on the board, or in general. What Chris and the neighbor thought of too is within the budget there might be even the condition of having an assistant for her if you didn't want to handle all the, because it's discussions with her was being such a, well, what's her name, used to carry all the hats.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that was just another idea that I wanted to present.
Well, thank you guys for the hard work you put into this.
Well,
So it's really good.
Good job. Too.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to bring that back to the next meeting.
I don't want to walk on any
with
toes. It's just getting
Well,
late.
what I think that the next meeting is that the manager selection format and the secretary treasurer
Format.
adoption format, and then if we all at that point when it's more refined, and I'll send out my email tonight or tomorrow, and then go from there.
Beat you to that.
Because I don't want, I want it to be looked at as far as I don't want to miss duties, but at the same time, some of it's broiler plated. And then I saw this evening the policies and procedures manual, and there's actually more detail than that, but I don't think it needs to be that. Well, it could be that detailed.
There would be detailed policy procedures to be blatant and generality. Especially with FEMA money.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'd like to thank you guys for everything you've done outside your $50 of being here for all that.
Oh, I don't feel like I've earned mine yet.
It's a lot of work. Acting manager for nothing.
I'll tell you. Okay, mileage reimbursement adoption.
The discussion last month was whether or not, was to formalize the reimbursement of mileage by the board. And there was discussion about the state rate and the federal rate.
Mhm.
The federal rate is higher than the state rate. The federal rate currently is 62.5 cents. I apologize, I forget what the state rate was. I think it's like 58, but I'm not 100% sure. So,
I'm going to put a motion on the floor to adopt a mileage reimbursement procedure, which would be based on the federal rate. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
my recollection is that under Chapter 112, under that Code of Ethics provisions, and I apologize, I was looking at the old agenda, we may have to adopt the mileage reimbursement by resolution. That may be required. I apologize, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think we do, based on what I read in 112.
Yes, sir. That's my recollection. And so if the board says tonight that's what we want to do, then I'll put together the resolution and bring it to you at your December meeting for adoption.
I'll put a motion on the floor that we adopt the resolution and let the attorney work on that and bring it to the next meeting.
And you want to use the federal, the IRS rates?
Yes.
Yeah, federal.
okay, and I just looked it up just to remind myself, it's 58.5 cents is what the Florida mileage rate for 2022 is. And I think the federal rate started the year at 58 and then changed mid-year to 62.5. So
We'll go
just
with the
as
federal
a
rate.
history.
You priced gasoline lately.
And there are, Mr. Chairman, there are other expenses. You don't normally incur them here, but there are other expenses that on occasion might be incurred. Meals and hotel and travel in different forms, not just a straight mileage type of a travel. So, and I've addressed all of those before. If you want to use the IRS rates, then I will bring back a resolution to you that addresses that whole concept.
I would say that we should adopt the entire concept. This board our community is growing, our board is growing, not in numbers, but merely that we're more active than we have been. I know that I've spent time downtown Fort Myers in meetings that I've been there all day long. And, it'd be nice to have a meal instead of having to pay for it. And I've gotten nothing back for that either way, mileage or anything up till currently. So I think that board members in the future, we should plan that they should be able to if they're going out at their expense, they should be able to be reimbursed for food. And if there's any reason why, and there may be in the future where if we're going to Tallahassee for matching grant money and stuff
Yes.
like that, it might be that there's an overnight stay incurred in that. Private Learjet, I was kidding.
The IRS rates don't cover that. So I will prepare a resolution to address all travel / per diem using the IRS rates.
Okay.
That's what you want me to do. Okay, and I'll bring that back.
And so we don't need any kind of motion or anything for that, just because you're going to do the resolution
I'll
next
just
month.
take care of it at the next board
Okay.
meeting. Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're done with that for right now, Mr. Kramer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Policies and procedures. John, you were working on that. Are we postponing that for the next meeting or is it that?
I think we're close to it. We just have a couple issues we have to work out.
Okay.
That probably in December we can make
Yes.
a formal resolution adoption.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, just one more quick
Yes.
note about that. would it be possible for Supervisor Salucci and I to get together maybe and do a little bit of brainstorming on some of the provisions and just try to button it all up between now and
Is
December?
this going to include mileage and lunch?
No.
We can do it by phone, I don't know how to do
Yes.
that.
So I was thinking my telephone was going to work. So,
Ron, I know Peter's been very concerned about the procurement policy and FEMA. Do we have time to delay adoption of a procurement policy as it relates to FEMA discussions?
I think we do, given the timelines of our meetings with FEMA.
Okay.
I think it's appropriate to have a solid one. If you really, really want to be safe, you would adopt the draft. And then be subject to any amendments in the future. It's more of a legal move than anything else, but.
my response to that is, in speaking with Peter, he indicated that there were some things that he wanted to make sure were in there before we adopted it. That's the only thing that comes that I have in.
So that tells me we have time.
Yes. I asked him that question specifically, by the way. I asked him if we had time, if we could adopt the procurement policy at the December meeting, and he said yes, and he would prefer that.
Okay.
So, yes, thank you. I did not say that earlier. I apologize.
Are we good?
Yeah. Good.
You good? Mm-hmm. Mr. Springer, we okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. 10319 St. Patrick's Lane property damage. That is outside of our subdivision, and that is an insurance issue, et cetera, et cetera. How do we, I don't think we really have anything from this board to proceed forward with that. I think that's up to their insurance company, and if anything comes out of it, they should contact our insurance company, and we'll deal with it as needed.
Yes, sir. That's generally the conversation that the engineer and I had was the property line from the edge of the right-of-way extends to infinity, and this limb was on his side of the property line. He had the opportunity, actually, technically, to remove it even before the storm at the property line, and so it would be an insurance claim for his insurance.
Are we responsible for cleaning up the broken limb from our property line on the right-of-way to the canal?
That was probably done in this cleanup.
Yes, that is how it is.
But I mean,
Do we know it was done?
What was that?
no,
The limb in the
I-
right of way.
Yeah.
Did we clean up the limb part, the part of the fallen limb that was in the right of
I
way?
don't believe the limb was cleaned up as part of this effort.
We're not ready to lay it.
It's outside the district. If the limb, I haven't seen that, but if the limb was down on the ground in the right of way, I would presume that it was
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The tree that remains, if you're familiar with Australian pines, they tend to shoot up multiple trunks. The tree that remains is still there. I do not believe it has been removed.
No, that wasn't in the project. But cleaning up the limb that was in our easement,
Right.
that was part of the project.
In your right of way. Yes, sir. That
So
should-
we will have to look at in the future. And I think that if we identify this stuff as we have the FEMA project going on, Australian pines were supposed to be removed off all governmental properties years ago. And any of them on our property only may, come under a FEMA in the third phase from the conversations we've had of future things that need to be taken care of.
Okay.
Am I,
So,
you think correct there?
Possible.
Okay.
so I'll check to see if that's been, because there is some of that limb.
Okay.
So,
When
right
did you-
after the
when did-
basic,
When did you take that picture?
that was the day,
The day it happened. Okay.
yeah, the Sunday
Yeah,
day.
I was referring to the fact Thrasher was down there.
Yeah, so I'll
cleaning
check and
up.
see if
Okay.
it's still,
Okay.
because it's on the other side of the canal.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one question before we close.
Well, we're not ready yet.
Okay, we have one more item too, sir. the funds transfer for the operating expenses that we
Okay.
added at the end of the agenda.
Okay, so you ready to do that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the next.
Would you like to give me the words you want for that?
Well, based upon the
It's getting late.
based upon the earlier discussion, there was an indication that the tax collector postponed collecting tax revenue for another 30 days, and which means that you will have to operate for an additional 30 days without any new revenue coming in from the general operating assessment.
That's correct.
And so, all that being said, I did not hear a number. Was the one thing that I don't know is the number to move into the operating budget for the time period, probably through December, through at least the next board meeting, and maybe through December 31, before you start receiving revenue.
I think if we get 30,000, we would have plenty. We would have sufficient to carry us through December.
At least the December board meeting, and maybe all the way through December 31.
So we want 30 for operating regular, plus sounds like we went around 190.
We already did that one.
That one you already go
We've
through.
already
We
done
need
that.
an additional 30.
Yeah.
30 is the number.
This is our general
operating, not Ian related at all. Operating only.
That's coming from the fund balance, no matter.
Yes,
what.
from the fund balance, correct.
So the total sounds like it's going to be 230 from the fund balance, 30 allocated for operational issues, the 200 for FEMA costs.
Right, which you already approved.
Correct.
200 already approved, was already approved, right? Was it 200?
Yes. 200.
200, yes.
200, okay. So it would be a motion to approve moving $30,000 from the fund balance at Florida Prime to the operating account at Bank of America for operation expenses between now and.
Do you want to make that motion?
I did the 200,000. Somebody else can.
Oh, you want to take the loop?
Yeah.
Okay. Put a motion on the floor to move $30,000 from the fund balance account at Federal Prime to our normal operating budget.
Okay. BOA.
You second?
Yep, second.
Aye. All.
Okay.
Aye.
We're done, Mr. Chairman. That's
Okay.
all I need.
Okay.
All right, but
I got one thing I'd like to ask before we do close.
I have something still.
And I'm gonna let you talk
And I don't know,
about
do we
it.
need to do this in the course of the meeting? This is the card purchasing program that we approved and adopted back in August and the prior board, but we have new board members, so we had to get new signatures because the old agreement got kicked back because the address was incorrect. So I just need Jim to sign it.
Let's talk about it after the meeting.
Okay?
Can we? Does it need board action? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes.
Does it need to be done tonight?
No.
And I would say let's not do it until December.
I would
Okay.
agree with you until you have an opportunity to look it over.
Well, yeah.
I think that's where he was going with that. So.
It's late. I think, is this the one that you sent me Friday? Yes. Okay. Let's do it in December if at all possible, please. Ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was done back in August. And again, the purpose of this, just so everybody has an understanding, you all can take those 2 copies because I have it. I can reprint it. Whoever wants a copy.
I know John would like that.
The auditor wanted the district to change its reimbursement practices from people spending their own money and then getting reimbursed with a check, like we've always done.
Okay.
And they recommended the use of a credit card.
Okay.
And so I went out last May and called around, and Bank of America said, yes, that we do have a program. The state of Florida has a card purchasing program, and the board approved that in August.
Correct.
And we signed off on it, and
I recall that.
and then it was mailed off, and then it got returned, and then we got a new board. So I didn't feel comfortable proceeding with the prior agreement that had been signed, even though Bank of America keeps asking for it, because we had a change of players. The person that signed the old one, the other one, was no longer on the board.
Did we decide on a limit on that card?
Yeah, I was gonna say it should be a limit on it. It should be like de minimis.
I agree. I don't think this dictates that at this stage. I think you apply to be part of the program, and then then it comes back because you're not even authorizing users.
Okay.
But I can ask that question. I can
Yeah,
call
I
Mr.
would
Woodruff
look-
and ask him that.
And while we're talking about that, on our loss for the petty cash fund, we don't normally have petty cash around anywhere.
No, we have no
But-
petty cash.
okay. All right.
I mean, like today, I spent $306 and I can't think 91 cents for a toner cartridge at Office Depot. Put it on my card.
That could have been the credit card.
That would have been the credit card.
And that's what we should make sure, that the credit card has a limit of at least $1,000 to be able to
Right.
cover costs like that during the course of
And or if you were going to go traveling to
So in the policy
Tallahassee.
procedure, there's no cash. There is no cash.
No, we
No,
don't-
there is no cash.
we don't have a means for that.
Exactly.
And the reason the auditor wanted that was because they have found in other companies that they audit, it's open for abuse because things can be easily manipulated. And she referenced some church pastor that,
Usually churches.
yeah, that just abused their privilege. And because with PDF being so easy to change and modify, and it's become, technology has become so good that receipts are easily modifiable. Yes. And so this was a risk management decision.
Okay.
Jim.
Very good.
Jim.
Yes, sir.
Could I recommend, if I'm able to?
You may.
Recommend, make the credit card limit $2,000. Because if you're gonna go to that overnight stay and it's a number of board members,
Yeah, you're gonna need
1,000
That's
nothing.
I would think that's.
Most banks will do like 2,500. They'll
Yeah.
do increments like that.
Yeah.
And that's enough for emergency, get a couple road signs, get some ink cartridge, a few things that are normal operating. That totally makes sense.
And we would also, a lot of our subscriptions, our software subscriptions, the Adobe, the QuickBooks, all that would end up getting put on the card as
Makes
a
sense.
recurring thing.
Okay.
All right, and then can I get him to sign this letter?
After the meeting.
Okay. Are we done? Are we ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
I have one thing I'd like to, and I'm not quite sure. On the agenda, under comments from guests and public input, in all due consideration that sometimes they need a lot of time to speak and do things, I was wondering if we can move that down the list and cover all the rest of the business we're dealing with and give them the appropriate time they actually need to have the discussions they would like to have. And there's other people many times at the meetings that don't care to sit for that kind of, I'm not going to say that kind of, but for the discussions that are at hand, and it's not fair to cut these people off.
I have an answer.
Yes, sir.
Florida law requires you to give an opportunity for public input, a reasonable opportunity for public input on all decision-making items coming before the board.
Okay.
So, what I have done in other locations, other districts, is I have had a public input on agenda items in place of your item number 7.
Okay.
And then I have had a separate public input on non-agenda items down at the end of the agenda, down around your item number 10 or 11.
Okay.
That would enable you to comply with Florida law, which we like to do.
Mm-hmm. Last week?
And at the same time, honor everyone else's, every other member of the public who is here, honor their time as well. That way you can get the business done that needs to get done before the lengthy discussions occur on non-agenda items.
Okay.
If something comes up during the non-agenda item public input that you believe you really need to address that night, then you can amend the agenda to move that up into your action, old, new, and unfinished business, and then you can take action on it. That would be the right procedure. If you want to divide the public input in that way, it's an easy thing to do, and that would give everyone an opportunity to speak, and I have done that on a number of occasions.
Mr. Springer, in advance of other examples with water districts, how much lead time did you give the public for the input and comments before we actually had the board meeting? A week, 10 days, or because we're not 100% set on the agenda for December. We have some ideas what this subject would be. At some point, we'll settle it. A week before, a few days before. I'm just curious.
Oh, the rule of thumb is 7 days in advance. Put it on the website, and then you can amend it right up until the time of the meeting. I mean, you can, and you've heard me ask you to amend the agenda even in the meeting. Mm-hmm. That's also allowed as items come up that need to be dealt with. The whole purpose of the board meeting is to take care of the business decision making of the district that only the board can do. That's the whole reason for the board meeting. Of course. And so, the board meeting agenda can be amended, but we'll put it on the website 7 days in advance of the board meeting. Is
you have a template from these other districts we can follow?
Yes, sir. Well, the one that you have works fine. And
I meant the public input to that would go.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. And I have. I was there last Wednesday at one of my fire districts. They got real specific. They actually put language on the agenda that gets posted about the public input and they also put a 3-minute time limit.
I was going to ask you if there's time limit.
Yes, the board can exercise your discretion to do that as well. What I have seen most of the time is a 3-minute. If a time limit is placed, it's a 3-minute time limit. Mm-hmm. Is I've seen used in many forums. So that could also be something.
To make these changes to do this, do we have to make any formal motions or just have Chris do it?
Well, so yes, sir. If you want to make changes to the agenda, you should take action to make that change.
Okay.
If you want us to bring it to you next month and continue using this format until then, and then consider it at the next month's meeting, we can do that. Or if you want to make the change tonight, you can amend your agenda to add the item as a discussion item, call for public input, and then take action. It's up to you.
I'd like to see you bring back a form. You okay with that?
Let's see a form and then we get adopted in December.
Can we also
the new year, January starts a new program.
Can we also include in that a time limit on the amount of time? But
yes.
I'd like to see them have an appropriate amount of time, but 3 to 5 minutes should be more than enough.
Well, and it's still, and even then, it is at the discretion of the board chair. So if there's a topic, as an example, if there's a topic and it's something that can't be discussed in 3 minutes, then you have the ability as the chair of the board.
Well, by moving it down to the bottom like this, we could make that decision.
Yes, sir. You can do all kinds of things.
Because all of our business will be conducted.
Right. Everybody can put their pen down and then move on with the non.
Okay, Tony, you got a question?
Yes, are you going to ask something to please? I know we are all neighbors. We are all respectable people. Mr. David Nady is a very respectable man in the same way everybody is. I really do not appreciate that gentleman that was there. I know we are all neighbors, getting out the table, the chair, or like all of the sudden like that, and be disrespectful, make those comments and left. I would appreciate it if the board let the residents please respect everybody comment, even they agree or disagree, and not using those kind of words in our meetings.
I don't know how we can control a person who gets angry and mad for making a discussion and leaving, you know. With all due respect, I understand what you're saying, but it's very difficult if a man gets angry and mad and stands up, or a woman, and walks out. How do you control that?
Those comments was very,
It-
the words that he used.
I understand what you're saying, and with all due respect, I agree with you. I just don't know on a spur of the moment thing how you control what a person may or may not do. If he had stayed here, we would have asked him kindly to leave. Okay?
But you know, if anybody do that to any one of you, I would be disagree too, because you guys deserve respect, and I appreciate you guys are here.
Every person who comes to our meetings deserves respect for the time they have.
You know, but that really kind of bothered me. I almost go behind him, and I just control myself because it is not acceptable. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something real quick? Real fast. I would just like to thank the board for taking the time to listen to the topic instead of a 3-minute thing. $50,000 is a huge deal to me, so I appreciate the leniency in listening to that, because it may not be a big deal to a lot of people, but it's a big deal to me. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
And thank you for saying that. Okay, number 10, approve the September 2022 bank statements and financial reports, October 2022 bank statements and financial reports, November of 2022 bills and financial reports. We need a motion to do that. I put a motion on the floor that we approve this.
I motion to approve the. Chairman Bradford said all above.
Okay.
I second. Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Was there approval of the October 17 board meeting minutes? Mr. Chairman, the last thing left.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got to back up one. I passed 9.
Yes.
Approval of the October 17th, 2022 regular board meetings minutes.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the October 17th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Good. You seconding it?
Yes, second.
Aye. All approved.
Aye.
Supervisor discussion. Don't person say a word. Okay, you guys done? Meeting's adjourned.
Okay.
Hold on, he's still in meetings, so she knows.